Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's time for another V8SCOPS race weekend, and it's one of the big ones. We are entering Enduro season with the Sandown 500 happening on Sunday. But of course, we have to consider our supports categories as well on the Friday and Saturday. This Friday night, we have the Flat 4s and Flat 6s. And of course, we will start out with the Flat 4s in the Toyota GR86 Cup car. To bring it to you all live here on SimSpeed TV across YouTube, Facebook, and Kick is myself, Reese Gardner. Jay Kennedy is with me at the moment in the comms box and also handling production behind the scenes. We should be joined by Dan Yeaman at some point during the broadcast. We'll say hi to him when the time comes. Well, Jay, I think it's time to take a little look at Sandown International Motor Raceway here. One of the classic Australian circuits. It's got a deceptively simple layout, but it's definitely got a lot of places that can trip you up.
Definitely one of my favourites to go to. I've been here a few times now, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every single time I've been here. Hello, everyone. This is going to be a very, very fun night of racing, weekend of racing, our first ever Sandown 500. We were hoping we could run one last year, but of course Sandown didn't quite come out in time for it. But this layout is very, very cool, very quick. Of course, did change in the 80s to remove the most fun part of the track, the turn 6, 7, 8 complex, and of course that was very quickly changed back to the way it was because the drivers didn't like it too much, and the old layout, which you can still see on the infield now, completely gone. But yeah, it's a driver's favourite, this track, isn't it? It's absolutely cool. We're going to see some great racing in both the Flat 4s and the Flat 6s tonight.
That we are. There's long straights on this circuit. Certainly a track where the slipstream is very important down both the front and back straights, but you've got to have a car that handles properly, especially through the 6, 7, 8, 9 section down to Dandenong Road. It's very difficult to keep the car straight through a section like that, and you got to have a car that rides the curbs as well, Jay, very well, because taking the curbs in turns 2 and 3 and also in 11 and 12 can net you tenths.
Yeah, and the other factor as well, of course, this is a week 13, a build week for iRacing. There's been some changes to different factors on the track, and one of them has been catching a lot of drivers out, is that the gravel traps will suck you in, slow you down extremely, and they're very, very difficult to get out of. So that they're a little bit more realistic in some aspects as well. So staying out of the gravel traps is going to be very, very important. Staying off the grass as well, because the physics of the grass has changed as well. So drivers are going to have to be really careful to make sure they keep it on the black stuff tonight, because it will hurt them if they don't.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that it's a bit easier to control a car on the grass now, but you still wouldn't want to hit it if you want to, number one, set good lap times, number two, keep race control happy. The drivers in the flat fours, of course, have two 25-minute races here with a compulsory pit stop for a minimum of 2 tires. And this is the first time this year, I believe, Jay, that we've had a compulsory pit stop race in the flat fours. So I'm interested to see how it's going to work out, especially considering these cars in the real world don't often make pit stops.
Yeah, exactly right. They're more used to 15, 20, 25-minute races without pit stops. So 25 minutes with a pit stop. Seen a couple of drivers actually come in and practice those during practice and qualifying. So very important to get the hang of the pit stop process in these cars. I'm not actually sure what the process is in regards to how many tires can be done at once, and whether one side is better than the other. So we're going to learn on the fly as well for this one tonight.
Yeah, of course. And that's the kind of race that I particularly enjoy. In any case, we are going to get to that racing action right now, because qualifying has literally just ended, and Cameron Dance is the one who's run the fastest lap in qualifying, 1 minute 21.197, alongside Robert Henry, part of the Kiwi sim racing crew. Matt Haywood and Dan Stevens are going to start off the second row here, with Troy Allen lining up alongside supports organizer Henry King. Mark Cochran is the last driver to set a qualifying time. We also have Stead Miller and Lindsay Hobbs in the session, as well as our safety car driver Aaron Gilbert. If there's a big enough incident out on track and someone needs to request a tow back to pit lane, then Aaron's going to head out on the track and compress the rest of the field. But with only 9 cars on the grid tonight, I would expect that we won't see too many huge incidents like that.
We've had a couple of races where there hasn't been a huge turnout in this class, around the 9, 10, 11 car mark, and they've actually been incredibly entertaining races. So fingers crossed we see more of the same. A little disappointing to have a smaller turnout, but as we've seen many, many, many times before, small turnouts don't mean bad races. Often see absolutely banging races in these sort of fields.
Yeah, and the GR86 Cup car, always a good car for action, because it's a very difficult car to drive on the limit. It rotates. The rear end is very loose. So someone who has a good amount of control of their rear end will certainly be of the biggest benefit in an event like this. So everyone's made their way onto the grid now. And it's not a staggered grid here at Sandown. The rows start side by side, so we'll get a really good idea of who has the best standing start game here. Just a few seconds left, and we will start hearing the revs rise. A symphony of flat 4 engines here at Sandown Motor Raceway. 25 minutes for race 1 of the flat 4s. is go. And away Robert Henry and Cam Dance go very smoothly, but a lot of wheel spin from Matt Haywood. He's managed to get a good start. Someone's been left behind on the grid, and it's Lindsay Hobbs. He's all the way at the back of the field now. Dance will protect the inside for the lead into turn 1, and Robert Henry has to file in behind. Haywood, with probably some extra heat in his rears now, is getting good traction out of the corners, but they have to negotiate this side-by-side chicane. Henry King and Troy Allen side by side coming into turn 5, and King will get the better exit. So looks like everyone's gotten through the first couple of turns cleanly. Jay, let's see about the rest of the lap.
Yeah, fingers crossed it stays the same, but great to see that everyone got away and without any incidents. Single file down the back straight, but the draft is going to play a big impact by the time they get to the start of the S's. But I think for the first lap or two, everyone will just sort of feel each other out and won't stress too much around trying to make overtakes.
Just as you say that. Oh, Robert Henry. Oh, he went off the circuit there and managed to complete the move on Cameron Dance. I don't know if he'll be allowed to keep that, because he did technically go off the track in order to make a pass. But we'll see what the rules have to say about that. Either way, that was a spectacular way to take the lead of the race, and Robert Henry will lead at the end of the first lap here.
Yep, he'll hold the lead, and yeah, it was probably very, very good heads-up driving from Cam Dance to make sure that he didn't make any contact, as Henry still looking to make this move. Stevens looking to make a move there on Cam Dance. Not quite able to do it, though.
Yeah, top 4 have compressed, haven't they? Matt Haywood actually losing out to Dan Stevens on the previous lap, so he's still trying to hang on as best he can. Stevens still chasing down Dance down the straight. Henry made a little bit of a mistake coming through the S's section. That's the reason why he went off. He apexed a little too early. Let's see if he sorted it out this time. They all make their way through nice and smoothly. So Cam Dance is not able to get back past Robert Henry. They all climb across those concrete curbs on the exit of the turn, and they all get a reasonable exit, but it seems like Stevens and Haywood lost out a little bit there. They will still have the opportunity to keep up in the slipstream.
Yeah, slipstream's going to keep this group very, very close together. You can see Henry King started to drop off a little, but he's still relatively close, so he's not out of this lead group. The whole field separated by just 8 seconds with everyone within the draft range, so it's going to be a very, very interesting race all the way to the end. It's still a lot of battling still to come.
So there's a battle pack up the front, and there's a battle pack towards the rear, as well as Matt Haywood still tries to find a way to get onto the back of Dan Stevens here. You see the pack behind them there. Henry King, Troy Allen, and Stead Miller. They're all fighting over 5th place right now. Mark Cochran and Lindsay Hobbs all on their lonesome at the moment at the back of the field. But if you're in 7th position and up, you have got something to fight for. A little bit more spaced out this fight, though. So we will see how our leaders go coming down to Dandenong Road. Cam Dance not doing what Robert Henry did on lap 1 and not going for a huge dive. It seems like Henry was wasting no time getting to the front, because he knows that once he's under race conditions, he's got what it takes to come to the finish in 1st place.
100%. You see, Dance is applying a lot of pressure right now. Remember, I was about to say pit windows just opened as well, so will we see anyone come in? In comes Stevens, in comes King. Anyone else going to join them? No, just those 2 for now. So, actually, sorry, I take that back. Lindsay Hobbs, no, he continues on. So, I think Stevens thought that this battle between Dance and Henry may start to slow this field up a little. They might have taken that as the opportunity to come into the pits. We'll see how long this pit stop does take. I'm thinking it'll be a decent length of a stop.
Yeah, they're still at standstill.
Still stopped now, so yeah, this is going to be a big mix-up to the field when it does come time. Henry King away, Dan Stevens away. King with a 2-second shorter stop. Gains a fair bit of time in the pit stop. So these guys will probably try and work together now to make sure that that gap to the front doesn't diminish.
Yeah, King did get a bit of a slow start away from the box, though. So the drivers will have to be careful of that. These cars, as we've seen demonstrated many times this season, difficult to get off the line. So let's see what the top 3 does now. Through into the final chicane here. And this is one of the turns where you're climbing across the curbs once more. Very wide curbs on the way in and out. It looks like Matt Haywood is going to be the one to bite the bullet and take that stop now. Let's see if it gains him any advantage over Henry and Dance, who are now alone at the front of this field.
And will be interesting to see where Haywood rejoins in comparison to Stevens and King. I'm guessing he'll probably slot in just in front of Dan Stevens if he has a similar pit stop time. But see the 2-second difference in pit stop times for Stevens and King. Will that play an impact as Mark Cochran running off the circuit at the exit of turn 1?
Oh dear. That's a problem there for Cochran. And, well, he does manage to recover. Haywood, meanwhile, has just exited the pits. His stop was 8 seconds faster than Daniel Stevens. He only spent 15 seconds stationary. There goes Stevens and King now, just crossing the line. Who's messed up here? Is it these two, or is it Matt Haywood?
Well, race control will feed us that information very, very soon. But, yeah, I'm a bit surprised by that as well. So, sure, they've tested the pit stop times. This is what happened to Cochran, just a little bit too sideways coming into turn 1 and couldn't hold on to it by the time he left the exit of turn 1. Didn't lose too much time. Cameron Dance has decided now's the time to jump in as well.
Okay, so we've seen what Haywood's stop time is. We'll see if that's an outlier or if Dance has the same trick up his sleeve. There goes Robert Henry on his lonesome in the lead. And Allen and Miller will move through into 2nd and 3rd. We're still owed a pit stop from them, as well as Cochran and Hobbs. So, Cameron Dance revving up in the lane, and he is down and away. That is another 15-second stop. So, I get the feeling Dan Stevens and Henry King...
They've taken 4 tyres.
Yeah. You're allowed to take a minimum of 2 tyres. Cameron Dance was actually asking before the race, is the CPS for 2 or 4 tyres? So evidently he's decided that only 2 tyres is the way to go. Stevens and King, though, fresh rubber on all 4 corners, and they are looking to use it in this dice with each other as King tries up the inside of turn 1. Stevens goes wide on the exit. He will protect the inside coming into the first chicane.
Oh dear.
Might be a slowdown, potentially.
We might have a safety car coming here.
Uh-oh.
You see, Cochran's had some tech issues and bounced it off the wall, and the car has stopped.
Yeah.
So you'll see as we come back live, you'll see the car parked up. It's going again now, so he might be okay.
Yeah, looks like it. That's no good there for Mark Cochran. Hopefully he's able to make it to the finish, but King's still trying to get past Stevens, and this is a difficult spot to start a pass at. As long as you're alongside on the entry like King is, though, you can get it done. And he keeps it stable across the curbs down to Dandenong Road and nails the exit too. So, very nice move there from Henry King. Meanwhile, Robert Henry still not going into the lane yet, and the gap is 32 seconds or a little bit less between he and Cameron Dance. Now, lane time is about 33.5 seconds, and I would suspect that all up you lose perhaps about 30-ish seconds on the way through the lane. So whatever happens, it's going to be close between our leaders here. Dance coming out just ahead of Haywood, and Cochran is stopped again.
He's having all sorts of issues, isn't he? So this could be a safety car for sure, because he's parked in a very, very dangerous spot right at the exit of the most dangerous corner on the track, the exit of turn 9, Dandenong Road. The very, very heavy braking zone at that point. Very
wheel is dead.
Ride. Yep, he's lost
He's
his
saying his
steering
wheel is dead.
So hopefully he can get out of danger. This could bring out a safety car. I've seen Stead Miller has come into the pits, so he has decided, in case a safety car does get called, time to come in now, as does Lindsay Hobbs as well. So only Henry and Alan at the front of the field still left a pit.
Yeah, I would imagine that Robert Henry and Troy Allen will take the opportunity on the next lap if the safety car comes out, but they stand a chance of losing position with pretty much everyone else now having completed their pit stops and can continue at racing speed before the safety car collects them all. There was a bit of a weird incident there for Mark Cochran, wasn't it? He's going again. Mark Cochran is going again.
Okay.
He's just started moving. So this has been an adventurous lap for car number 2. The leader moves through without any incident, but it looks like Cochran is going to try and limp that thing back to the pit lane.
Stedmiller and Lindsay Hobbs both have made their compulsory pit stop, as in comes Robert Henry. But their stops were extremely long.
Oh,
about 40-odd seconds for both of them.
Yeah, just behind them, Cochran coming into the pits, obviously, to get the damage repaired. Troy Allen was coming in at racing speed, and Allen had to back out massively on pit entry, so he would have lost some time as a result of that. But both of them are now at a standstill. We can keep an eye on Cameron Dance and Matt Haywood, see what kind of advantage they gain, if any, over Robert Henry, whose pit stop only took 14.9 seconds. He has just crossed the pit exit line now, and he's going to come out right with them. Is he going to keep the lead? He is indeed.
Yes. I think Dance just got out of the throttle there to make sure that he didn't make the overtake. So this is a little bit of gamesmanship going on now. A little bit sneaky going on, but I do like that strategy because Dance knows that being second on that last lap is usually the best place to be. As Troy Allen comes out behind Henry King and Dan Stevens, we've got 2 packs of 3 in the top 6.
Exactly what we want to see. And Stead Miller and Lindsay Hobbs seem to be having a lovely little fight of their own for 7th spot. As it turns out, the safety car is out.
Safety car has come out. I'm wondering if the safety car was called, but we missed the call. Yeah, Henry and Dance and Haywood. I'm guessing that may have come out and been called when we saw Dance not make that overtake. That could have been the time that happened. But Stead Miller and Lindsay Hobbs, are out. We'll have to get that lap entered back. Otherwise, they will go a lap down. But take a little bit of time to get that sorted. But the strategic games going on in this race is very, very interesting, isn't it?
Well, now we'll, I suppose, wait for the field to be fully gathered up here. And this is interesting looking at where the safety car has picked the field up, because Stead Miller and Lindsay Hobbs obviously are in 7th and 8th spot, but they're the first 2 cars in the line. Are they going to get waved around, or are they going to get sent to the back? Are they going to keep things as they are and just let them race? What's the deal here? Well, it looks like they're going to be waved around.
Yeah.
My answer was received right away.
I'm going to guess now as they drive away, wait for them to hopefully get onto the back of the field by the end of this lap, and we'll go green next lap. Yeah, I completely missed the safety car call, and obviously you did as well. So
yeah,
see if we can get that resolved for the next race. Fingers crossed we won't see it again.
Yeah, I mean, usually there's in-sim voice chat and also in-sim text chat notifications that the safety cars come out, and I commentate without voice chat on just so we can concentrate. So if there's a vocal call out for the safety car, but they miss the text notification, then we don't know that the safety car has come out. So we do apologize to anyone watching who's wondering why we missed that. It happens sometimes, but things seem to have worked out okay for the time being, as Miller and Hobbs will make their way around to the back of the field. The safety car's only pottering around at about 70 k's an hour, so I think these guys are going to catch up very quickly. They've literally made half a lap on the rest of the field.
They have. They might get to the back by the end of the lap, but I think the safety car will come in this lap either way, so we'll find out very soon. I don't see any lights flashing on the safety car, so it's usually a sign that the safety car's coming in. Not often. Not often it isn't, but it'll be interesting.
Right then, so we are under 10 minutes to go in this first race. The safety car pulls away. It is coming into the pits. The field now falls under the control of Robert Henry. And it'll be up to him to try and take everyone else by surprise and try and get a gap, because the last thing he wants is for Cameron Dance to be right on his tail when the final lap begins, or if they get onto the back straight on the final lap this close together. Let's see then, from Dance's perspective, how this start goes. Henry is waiting, and he goes. Green flag from race control, and we will begin the 12th lap of this race.
Everyone's got away very well. It's still single file, which is good to see. No real breaks in the group, and you can see that Miller and Hobbs are only straight behind. So if another safety car does come out, they're well and truly in contention to still get a top 5. His front 6 now. Very, very tight. Henry bouncing the car over those curbs.
Yeah, he just kissed that inside curb, didn't he? Gave it a little smooch, and the car bucked sideways just a little bit. I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Kiss on a SimSpeed broadcast?
I did, and I make no apologies for it. Dance is going to make no apologies for this move either, as he goes up the inside into turn 7. Wow, that was a very brave move, but he's managed to pull it off.
Matt Haywood looking racy as well, so he might be able to look into getting a move done. I can see the difference. This is the first time I've joined a session since the iRacing build over the Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and you can see how much drivers are avoiding getting close to the grass and close to the edges now. They're being a lot more aggressive in making sure they maintain their traction on the track from running wide, and you can tell that the most at the exit of Dandenong Road. They're not even game to get close to running wide.
Yeah. Really cool to see. The top 2 still locked together here. Robert Henry is not letting Cameron Dance run away with this lead, and look at how aggressive they are over the curbs at this chicane. How close do they get to the curb this time? It looks like they just avoid that inside curb, and Henry King behind. Yeah, he nearly got into the wall on the exit there, didn't he? That might have compromised his exit. Could give a run to Dan Stevens.
Very possible that Stevens will have a run here and a bit of momentum to potentially steal a position, himself up into 4th. Remembering that where they finish in this race, they will start the next race in that position. So every position counts twice. Points for this race and starting position for the next one. That's very aggressive from over the curb.
It is. Is it too aggressive? That is the question.
Penalty.
All right. Well, King, just seeing how close he got to the wall. Oh. If anything, the grass actually helped him there, didn't it?
A little bit. It sort of gave him the right amount of sideways momentum to make sure he got it back on the track in time. So he was a little bit lucky with that, but it did cost him a bit of ground.
Oh, no. Oh, Robert Henry. Oh, he just had a massive slide in turn 1. Now he's under attack. Matt Haywood will try and move past into 2nd place. Car just got a little loose on him in turn 1, and now Robert Henry's in trouble. Dance taking the Henry King line.
Yep, and he's now broken the 2nd, so now probably won't be as stressed about draft, especially with how Haywood's driving as well. Haywood being aggressive enough to mean that Robert Henry will be paying a lot more attention to his rearview mirrors than he will be to Dance ahead.
Oh, he's aggressive over the curbs again, isn't he? But it looks like he's just avoided the slowdown that is usually awarded for going too far beyond those blue and white curbs. Battle at the back. Miller versus Hobbs. Still going on after all this time. They've been keeping each other good company for this one, haven't they?
They've changed position 3 times in the last 2 laps, so they're keeping each other company very, very well. And showing once again this series, it doesn't matter your skill, your pace, whatever, you're going to find someone to battle and someone to race each and every time. So, very cool to see. Oh my God, that's sideways from Miller. That's a bit aggressive. He's going to lose this spot here, you'd think, into turn 1.
Let's see how much of the slipstream Lindsay Hobbs picks up here coming down the start-finish straight.
Oh, Henry King around.
Oh no! Oh, that's a problem. That is at the first chicane. That's turn 2. But, well, actually, it looks like he had a major slide, but he managed to actually recover it, which is good to see.
One positive was that he went to the grass on the inside rather than coming back out onto the track, so I think that sort of saved him a little. So he just gets it sideways, then hits the curb, and the front wheels just launch up off the ground. He's done a very, very good job to get that back on the track, but he's lost himself a fair bit of ground.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be involved in any battles towards the end. But speaking of battles, look who has caught back up to Cameron Dance. Trying up the inside into the final turn is Robert Henry. And Dance goes off. Manages to keep it going, though. Forward momentum. Bump draft from Matt Haywood. He and Robert Henry take the top 2 positions now. Dance falling behind into 3rd. Start of lap 15 here. And we only have 3.5 minutes to go. Laps around here take about 1 minute and 20, so I think we'll have 3 to go.
Yep, will likely be 3 to go. And remember, Dance only 2 corners ago was leading this race and is now back to 3rd. Hobbs and Miller change positions again. As I said, they keep changing positions off camera, but Robert Henry, he's driving so aggressive on these tyres. I think he'll be starting to feel their pressure. Pressure's not the right word. You know the word I'm looking for. Yeah. They'll be starting to feel a bit worn by the end of this race because he is being very aggressive on them. Dan Stevens, as you can see, has dropped behind these guys. He's had a mistake at turn 4, and it looks like Troy Allen went with him.
Well, the top 3 just dialing it up, aren't they? Haywood trying up the inside of Robert Henry, but Henry keeps the traction round the outside, and it looks like he's gotten a slight advantage on the straight down to the final chicane here. Dance and Haywood much more aggressive over the curbs. Here's what happened with King and Stevens. With Troy Allen and Dan Stevens. Wow, that was a lovely little exchange, but unfortunately, Stevens on the inside. That corner's so tight that if you're stuck on the inside there, you lose all your momentum. Speaking of momentum, the slipstream for Matt Haywood. He's going to go up the inside at turn 1 into the lead, and Robert Henry gets pushed off the road just a little bit, but all in good fun. They will continue fighting to the last breath.
Great to watch. Great to see 3 drivers.
Oh, mistake from Haywood.
In pace. 3 Kiwis as well going at it here. And you see in the background, oh no, Troy Allen in the wall.
Oh dear. That's a bad spot. Exit of turn 4. And looks like, unfortunately, that was a mistake he did all on his own. But the fight between the top 3 continues here as Robert Henry will try up the inside, coming down to Dandenong Road. This is as close as you want to get. And both Dance and Haywood very close to getting the slowdown. In fact, Matt Haywood has gotten a slowdown penalty from cutting that corner.
Yep, wouldn't have been much. He's only just cut it a little bit further than the others have been in the race, but enough to slow him down. They're going to get the white flag this time. Dance will know that he's got that slowdown penalty as well. It's on through.
That's interesting. Haywood didn't lose much pace, but he has cleared the slowdown already, so he can still fight here in the top 3. This is what happened, unfortunately, to Troy Allen coming into turn 4. Rear end just gets a little loose on the way through, and he overcorrects it, goes straight into the barrier. But back live, look at this from Matt Haywood, sliding on the way out of turn 1, gets back up into second place, passes Dance, and he tries to get past Haywood as well, but no room given there. Dance, initial D'ing it round the outside of the chicane, and a little bit too much slide there. That will give another advantage to Matt Haywood to try and take back second place. They can't let Robert Henry run away.
I think he might, though. He's already 8/10 clear. He's got a bit of a gap now. Although the draft is starting to kick in. They've already gained a 10th back. But is it too little too late? Henry's got all the momentum in his favour, and Haywood and Dance side by side into the S's. This is never going to end well. But both pulled it up okay. Dance can't get around him. Beautiful bit of blocking there from Matt Haywood to make sure that Cameron Dance couldn't get through. Robert Henry, though, he's broken away. He looks safe at the front.
He does indeed. Final turn, and Henry just smoothly applies the throttle. Not so smooth for Cam Dance, who will remain in third there. But Robert Henry, first race victor at Sandown for the weekend. Race 1 of the Flat Fours goes to him. And another issue here, I think, for Stevens. Dandenong Road, yeah, loose on entry, and round he went. So that is race 1 complete here in the Flat Fours, and Robert Henry from pole to win, but it certainly wasn't easy, by 5/10 from Matt Haywood and Cameron Dance, with Henry King finishing a lonely 4th. Dan Stevens, with a mistake at the end, has to settle for 5th, and Troy Allen could have been in the top 5, but 6th for him. Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller, last 2 cars to take to the finish, and Mark Cochran, our sole retirement from that first race. Jay, well, I think despite the small field, still very entertaining so far.
100%. That was some great battling, some great racing throughout that field, and we're going to do it all again. And the interesting part now is that the field will be a little bit mixed up from where their qualifying was. So we'll see some interesting racing in this next one, I think. It's going to be a very, very entertaining race 2 coming up in a minute's time.
Indeed. And I tell you what, it's I'm looking there at the positions relative to the race. I'll correct myself from earlier. It was actually Cameron Dance who started on pole, not Robert Henry. My apologies for that one. But yeah, our top 3 shuffled a bit here. Second place starter in race 1 is now on pole. Third place starter is now on the front row. Cameron Dance will look for a bit of a fight back here. Lindsay Hobbs with a profitable night so far. He's going to start in 7th position for this one. So here's the grid once more. Henry and Haywood on the front row, with Cameron Dance and Henry King on row 2. Daniel Stevens is going to start out of 5th place alongside Troy Allen, and then Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller. Their battle will undoubtedly continue in this one, with Mark Cochran unfortunately not taking to the start for this one. Looks like those technical issues were just too much, as we are now joined by Dan Yeaman. Uni work is complete, Dan, and you're ready for some racing.
That I am indeed. Had a chance to watch you guys call the first race of the night there, and no surprises at Sandown draft track. It certainly delivered. And the safety car just to spice things up a little bit here too. And looking forward to seeing how things play out for our final race of the night here for our Flat Fours.
Oh yeah. So, what I noticed about the first race here as the revs rise is that Haywood got a lot of wheel spin. Is it going to be the same this time? Green flag flies, and it looks like both Dance and Haywood lighting up the rears, and Haywood getting a fantastic start out of that. Robert Henry immediately losing the lead off the grid as they come into turn 1 for the first time in this race. And all of them keeping it nice and clean, giving each other a good amount of space, but at this chicane, that's where things start to get leery. Stevens will give up the position to Troy Allen at the back. Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller last 2 positions, but Haywood already starting to streak away in the lead. That won't last long, though.
No, the fact he's got about maybe a car and a half's length to Robert Henry in behind, that'll be closed down in due course. It's whether we'll see drivers like, pardon me, as my sim just has a bit of a moment whilst I get my steering wheel switch on. It's Troy Allen, the leader of our MFR cars here at the moment, whether he'll be able to catch up to our top 4, with Henry King currently riding in behind our top 3 from that first race, who are now completely bunched up at Sandown, on the exit of Dandenong Road, sorry there. But see how this packs up. It's now quickly becoming 2 groups of 4, but it looks at things here, Reese, to get this second race underway here.
All right, end of the first lap in race 2. And Matt Haywood has completely lost the advantage he had on lap 1. Looks to me like the slipstream's getting picked up by Robert Henry down the front straight here. but he's not going for the move just yet. Giving a little bump draft to Matt Haywood. And, oh no! Oh, that hasn't worked out well. Haywood gets on the brakes, and unfortunately Henry gets right into the back of him. Cameron Dance also picking up some front-end damage. That has promoted Henry King into the lead of the race.
Well, I wasn't expecting quite to see, because I've got my camera hard stuck towards the back of the field at the moment, it seems. Because, yeah, now all of that, Robert Henry on the outside of Troy Allen, and the way out of turn 4, contact. Front right, left rear somehow avoids any big troubles, and almost again through the kink at turn 5 here, Reese, as Robert's just trying to get back into the rhythm, it seems. But Troy Allen side drafting on the way up towards turn 6 might just be able to take this place away from him here.
2 wide in front, 3 wide behind, not anymore. Stead Miller falls behind Stevens and Hobbs, and looks like Troy Allen gets the best run into the S's. Stevens protecting the inside of Dandenong Road from Lindsay Hobbs. What a fantastic pack this is at the rear of this field. And it's not over at the front either. Henry King, he does have a slight lead at the moment, but that will be erased. We'll see what happened here between Henry and Haywood. It's just Haywood got on the brakes, and I don't think Robert Henry was quite ready for it.
No, it would definitely seem to be the case, but, well, he has a chance to get back into it at least. Just going to have to see if the pace on Henry's car has been diminished or not, which, saying that here down the way, all the way to turn 1, not making gains on Troy Allen there, so I would suspect that Robert Henry's job just got a whole lot harder in this second race to round out his night. As we keep our eyes on the top 3 here. Looks like Haywood and Dance, for the time being, they're able to certainly ride shotgun in behind Henry King. See if that front bumper damage you pointed out earlier there, Reese, you can see it quite clearly on the nose of Dance's Orbit Motorsport machine, as Haywood looking to the inside for the race lead here as we head towards turn 6 once again.
All right then, if you're ahead at the turn-in point, the corner is pretty much yours, and Henry King will try to fight it, but no grip on the outside there. He's gone beyond the curb. That will result in a slowdown for Henry King.
Now let's see how long it takes to clear. He moves out of the way on the exit of Dandenong, but again, these cars actually, well, as you said, able to serve slowdowns fairly quickly if you can get it right, but looks like that will be a fairly straightforward trade there. As whilst I was talking about Robert Henry not having a great pace, as Haywood will dive to the pit lane first of our leaders to take his compulsory service in this one here at the start of lap number 4. But Robert Henry is back through on Troy Allen, as there we go. Dance inherits the race lead, but Henry King right on his gearbox at the end of the front straightaway.
Yeah, Dance has been driving very hard in this event. Don't know how long that's going to last for him, considering how much he's been pushing. Henry now clear of Allen, and this pair of Daniel Stevens and Stead Miller. Lindsay Hobbs, once again, is... Oh, that's a problem. He ended up having a big slide in turn 4 there and collected the wall. But we ride on board with Dan Stevens. Stead Miller just behind. Doesn't seem like the draft is having much of an effect for Miller at the moment, but he could just be hanging back and trying to play the long game here.
Possibly, that is true, but I'm not sure that would necessarily be in his favour, and I don't think that's necessarily his intention, but still, doesn't feel like it's going to be long, 20 minutes, but certainly it will take its time, as it were, as Dance, a little wide down the exit of final corner, immediately dives to the pit lane, so let's see if he can cover off Matt Haywood here with his compulsory stop. Dan Stevens will follow in as well there in the number 3. Henry King back to the race lead once again.
So Matt Haywood's pit stop was 15 seconds. That's a 2-tyre stop. It's looking like 2 tyres is the way to go. And following Dance into the pits are Daniel Stevens and Lindsay Hobbs. We'll see if Stevens decides to go for the 2-tyre stop this time.
Exit 3!
Oh, all right. Evidently, even if you're in the lead of the race, you are not free from drama, and it looks like King is going to lose that to Robert Henry. Let's see what happened to him. Lots of curb there, and oh god, he was lucky.
That has got to be probably the barest of touches to the Armco there with the right rear tyre. And as you said, so lucky to get away with that. As we just see there, Cam Dance will come out in right behind Matt Haywood. Robert Henry indeed through to the lead of the race. Troy Allen has been able to close up. He was obviously keeping with Henry in so far in this race, but all of a sudden Henry King's gone looking all right behind the wheel here, Reese. So suddenly it looked a little bit dicey there and down towards Dandenong as well, just like the tyres are giving him what he needs. We'll see here what he can do with it in the next little while. As looking here at the pit lane, it will be Stead Miller there who will peel off. And that will now leave us with just 3 drivers who owe us a pit stop in this race.
And they are the top 3. Yeah, I'm noticing with the incidents in this race, it's typical of the behavior of the car, really. It is a lovely handling car, the GR86, but when it goes on you, you often don't have much time to react. It is a very snappy machine, and that's part of the reason why the racing in this thing is so good. Cam Dance and Matt Haywood will continue on here, filter through into 4th and 5th. 15.4 seconds and 15.2 seconds respectively for these two in order. Let's see then what happened here for Cam Dance. That was a little bit of a slide there from Haywood. He did recover it out of Dandenong Road, but that's the reason why Haywood is behind Dance now.
Yep. Little moments here and there, adding up pretty quickly as our top 3. Less than 4 tenths covering them at the last update on our timing screens here. Stretches out once they get down through the S's and Dandenong Road. But the fact that they are basically going to be, in that case, they're right on top of each other, literally at the end at the back straightaways. We'll see no one peeling for the pits once more, so they'll carry on as they will. Keeping our eyes on what the lap times look like for Dance and Haywood behind in the next little bit. I think will be important because, of course, if they chip a couple of tenths away here and there, that will tell an important story. Just also seeing Stead Miller, slow stop for him, unfortunately, now puts him about 9 seconds behind Lindsay Hobbs as our final driver running in the race. Reese, so unfortunately there for Stead. He only came in a couple of seconds behind the top 3 who are still out here on track, and looks like he'll be out in the doldrums as we see here. Advantage to Henry at the front of the field on the older tyres at this point so far, it seems.
Yeah, probably the tyres taking a little bit of time to heat up there for Dance and Haywood. And remember, they're embroiled in a battle themselves, so they could be costing each other some time here. King still keeping the pressure on Robert Henry for the race lead. Troy Allen sitting pretty behind, just observing. He goes for the inside at Dandenong Road quite aggressively. And unfortunately, that has balked his exit a little bit, but still close enough that he can pick up a slipstream. But will he take this opportunity to go into the lane? Will any of these drivers take the opportunity to go into the lane? Yes, Troy Allen does indeed decide that the pit lane is the best place for him to be at the moment.
All right. And then there were 2. So, let's see here what the response. Oh, Dance have just noticed on my end, a little wide on the exit of Dandenong, and going to have to let Haywood through. Yep. And that's just going to slow them down some more. So, looks like the going long strategy going to work out potentially in the favour of our top 2 here. We'll see what Troy Allen does. 18 seconds in the box for him. Does get well cleared by Haywood and Dance, actually. So that's, 21 seconds. A bit of a long double stop. Here's what looked Haywood there. Not too dissimilar to what we saw from Cameron Dance's perspective when he was behind Reese. Just a little deep there at turn 9 for the number 6.
Yeah, not a good exit, and straights are long enough around here. You can really take advantage of that, especially in a car like this. So let's see how hard these guys battle, or if they decide to work together, because I think they're well aware now they're actually losing lots of time to Robert Henry and Henry King out the front of this field. Lap 8. Do either of our top 2 go for the lane? No. Looks like Henry and King are going to wait until the last available opportunity to get their fresh rubber on.
Yeah, just also continuing to watch. Oh, Dance and Haywood almost getting into each other at Dandenong, but it was Dance really just in really hot the last part of the braking at turn 9. As we also watch here as well, interesting of note. I did see when my cameras last flicked to Dandenong Road for our top 2, Henry King, another moment where he nearly lost the rear. So now 1 and 2 spread out a little bit, and same here for 3 and 4. It's about 3/4 of a second apparently at the line between these two, which doesn't seem like much, but as you can see, it's good enough for about 3, maybe 4 car lengths of an 86. As we'll have a look here at what happened. I believe this would have been literally on lap number 8, as they just catches the curb with the right rear tyre, Reese.
Yeah, just a little chatter of the rear tyres. He recovered it, kept the momentum going, though. And Haywood and Dance here, it looks like the lap times are starting to come back to them here. 1 minute 21.176 from Matt Haywood. That is a new fastest lap of the race. And on board here, Henry King on the replay. Yeah, just getting off the curb there. Unsettled the rear. And these cars have anti-lock brakes, so once you're in a slide, it can be a bit difficult to recover that. In any case, looks like Haywood has gotten a lovely little gap here that he's almost immediately going to lose with a slide through Dandenong Road as King goes for the lane. That leaves Robert Henry, the only car left to take a pit stop.
Indeed, it does. So just watching to see how they'll play this out as Haywood already onto the front straight. Henry King just going now at an 18-second stop or thereabouts. Going to get easily undercut by these two here. And all report sort of stall there for King as he tried to get the car away. No driver assists, of course, in these SCOPS support series. Copying the main SCOPS, V8SCOPS series as well, Reese. And looks like that's going to just cost Henry a couple of extra seconds. He will come out about 2 seconds clear of Troy Allen in the number 23. So, with that said, Robert Henry might be in a bit of trouble here because apart from the stall, I don't think Henry King would have lost 9 seconds. We'll see here. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That costs him, okay, that's maybe 4 or 5 seconds in saying that. So if that happens, I would still put these two here on screen ahead of Henry by 2 or 3 seconds at this rate.
Yeah, they've really picked up the pace now, haven't they? Robert Henry is responding nicely in terms of the lap times, but he's all on his own out there. He doesn't have anyone assisting him with a slipstream. He is punching a hole through the air all on his own. And so that could cost him straight line speed and a few tenths here and there, which could make all the difference come pit stop time.
It could, yeah. I'm just sort of going to keep an eye on, say, for example, Haywood and Danske on this particular occasion. Saying that, bring up their last laps. You can see that Robert Henry gets back 3/10 on Haywood. So I'm just watching the draft there, worth about 5, maybe 6 kilometers an hour into turn 1 for Cam Dance, right in behind Haywood. Because the biggest problem is that when you get up to the back of someone, of course, you don't really have anywhere to go if you're looking to work as draft buddies and not interfere with the car ahead who's punching the hole in clean air for the guy, in this case Cam, in third place. So there's no exchange of position either without some massive mistake happening. So they're not sort of leapfrogging each other forward because Cam can't get close enough, I guess, to really make that work per se. But looks of things, he's just going to ride up to the back of Haywood down the straight, and then he has to make sure he rolls out a tiny bit to not make Haywood feel like he's under any pressure coming into the corners. As Henry has gone by the pits once again, will stay out for at least lap number 12 here.
Yeah, running out of time to get it done, though. Under 10 minutes left in this race, and it's still on for second here. Dance is piling the pressure back on. He's taken a couple of laps further behind and has geared up the momentum again for another run at what could be the race lead, depending on how Robert Henry's pit stop goes. So in the slipstream, down the front straight, how do they go into turn 1? Dance is getting an inkling of draft, but he is going to stay behind. And, well, Matt Haywood, easy does it. Dance gets unsettled on entry. I was about to say it's similar to what happened in the previous race when Haywood was in the lead and Henry was giving him a little bump draft, actually got into the back of him in the braking zone for turn 1. I think Dance and Haywood were both wary of a repeat of that.
Probably indeed, yeah. Don't want to get too close as you're trying to get into the corners. That can be a recipe for disaster if it gets all kinds of wrong. Let's watch here our race leader and Robert Henry. Will he peel right? No. going to continue on again. You can see, look how aggressively he cuts that line there. Minimum distance is the name of the game here in cars like this. It would seem to be the case, Reese, which isn't too shocking, all things considered, as we check in here with Troy Allen and Dan Stevens, who are both part of Middle Finger Racing, despite the lack of team name there for Allen, and also the lack of paint job for Dan Stevens, which is a little surprising. I feel like either that wasn't intentional, or Dan was a really late sign-up to Flat 4, tonight, and didn't quite get one of his designs in as he usually do. Have to note also, Dan Stevens got the wall on the exit of turn 4, brushed it only like straight on side with the wall, but little moment in behind his own teammate there, just not getting a great run off of the turn, run off turn 4, to set up down the back straight for him last time by.
Well, he's still close enough to get the slipstream though, and there's potential for them to start catching up to Henry King if they can keep the pace up, but as it stands, Stevens is all over the road at the moment, and this is what happened to Stevens. How close was this? Oh, yeah, that was a bit of a whack that he got, but evidently not quite enough to truly damage the car. Allen and Stevens, they're running high 121s. Henry King looks to be comfortable in the mid 121 range. The lap times for these guys, though, they are continuing to work in the mid 21s as well. Robert Henry's pace has dropped off a little bit too, so is he going to come in on this lap is the question. Henry still hasn't taken a pit stop. He's in the lead by 30 seconds, and a pit lane transit takes about the same amount of time. So, what on earth do you do if you're Robert Henry?
Looks like he's going to commit to going as long as he can in this race, which would mean going maybe going at least 2, maybe 3 laps, as 21.124 will be the fastest valid lap of the race. That time by for Cam Dance, although that was allowing him to catch right back up to Haywood, who set himself a 21.4 to basically match your race leader on that last lap. So realistically, this is just going to be, I think it feels like a roll of the dice almost, as Dance again, Haywood too in some respects, but Dance a little more so. Really aggressive with the exit of turn 4 there and using all of the available track width. Is back to the MFR pair as Allen gets a little loose there, and I think we'll this time let Dan Stevens by to minimise any concerns there.
Dan Stevens was the fastest car on track last time by. Evidently, that damage is doing little, if anything, to affect his pace. So we'll see how quickly they catch Henry King. Still a few seconds behind him, but with Stevens' increased pace, I'm sure that we'll see some kind of fight back later on. This is what happened to Troy Allen coming out of turn 1. They both caught the curb, and Allen just gets into the grass, and as we discussed earlier, that does slow you down a bit. Stevens stayed behind through 2 and 3, but eventually got past coming out of turn 4. Cameron Dance takes back the fastest lap of the race, 121.107. That slipstream behind Matt Haywood is working out beautifully.
Haywood really turning the screws as well. They did a 21.0, but must have pushed a little wide at least once on the lap, so it didn't count for the purposes of that lovely little purple ticker for him. And crucially, though, 0.6 faster than Robert Henry, bringing them inside 30-second gap now for the first time since, well, really, the pit cycle actually began here, because it's been pretty much back and forth by a matter of 1 to 2 tenths for these guys, and now all of a sudden a pretty decent chunk there on that last time around. So see here, Dance right up behind and on the brakes early to avoid any contact at 6, as our race leader will come to the pit lane. Now time to see how the blend goes.
Henry will come to a standstill very shortly. Haywood versus Dance. Meanwhile, looks like Dance had a bad run through Dandenong Road. He has fallen back slightly. Will probably gain that back. Robert Henry is now at a standstill in the box, and it's a 15.3 second stop for Robert Henry. Just comes out of the lane here as the top 2 come by, and Robert Henry will rejoin in 3rd. Does he have what it takes to fight back and get involved here on the last lap? We have, I believe, 3 or 4 laps to go.
I'm going to go with 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Critically, though, the gap to
Henry
Dance. Okay. Moment there for Henry King here on replay we go to now. Into turns 2 and 3. Big use of curb at 2. 3 is up and over. And I think, to be honest, he gets saved there by the grass because I've not had a chance to do a lot of driving on the new 23, the Season 4 2023 build. As we'll check out Robert Henry here as he just came out of the pits. That's a little wide at 2. And yep, he'll hop over the grass there at 3 as well there. So Mr. King and Mr. Henry, they're both having a bit of a moment. And what that does is, unfortunately, blows the margin out to 4.2 seconds between your race leader and Robert Henry there in the background. It was always going to be a hard ass to get back into it, Reese, with no draft. But now it looks like it's very much going to be a 2-horse race here. There'll be 2 to go at the line as well. 2/10 the margin, pretty much as well as they come off of turn 12.
Matt Haywood leading by 0.2 of a second and change. This is a fantastic fight between Cameron Dance and Matt Haywood as Dance takes the fastest lap back, 1:21.098. Some excellent pace coming from the Orbit Motorsports driver. What can Haywood do to keep him behind? They're pretty much looking in his mirror at the moment and probably thinking, oh dear, when it comes to the last lap, he's pretty much guaranteed to have a go at me, or is he? Because Dance just clipped the wall there out of turn 4.
No, that's the thing, really. Cam is pushing so hard, it seems, that just really vulnerable to making or having moments where, losing a little bit of ground and momentum. And now you see the gap goes from 2/10 back up to 6, and it's still growing there as they come to the end of the straight. So that's really hurting me on that particular occasion. As I come down to Dandenong Road for the penultimate time tonight here in the flat 4s, and looks like a nice tidy exit from Haywood there as we focused on him. Dance about the same, but now a fair ways back. We'll have to see if that gets back into the fight that it's been all race long, Race. Whilst also here for 4th place, Henry King might come under some pressure here right at the end from Dan Stevens.
Yeah, Stevens once again showing great pace at the end of the night, and the white flag will fly here for Matt Haywood, who sets the first lap time in the 1:20s all night, I think. That is some stonking pace there. Now that the pressure has come off from Cam Dance, Haywood is right on it. But take it easy through the chicane. You don't want things going wrong on one of the final laps of the night.
Pretty even through there. Henry King's in a moment at turn 1. That
Big
means
moment.
he'll lose P4 to Dan Stevens and P5 to Troy Allen, unfortunately there. The 52 goes around as final time up the back stretch. Haywood will do a bit of weaving to try and break the toe. It won't be able to do him won't break the toe per se there, but Dance too far back surely for the run towards Dandenong Road for the final time. Up and over the curb there for the number 6, just within limits as well, but he's wide on the exit there, and he's going to get a little bit closer here, Reese, but I think Matt Haywood might just have this one done.
Yep, 2 corners to go. Now just 1. Haywood. Fantastic drive from car number 47, and across the start-finish line he will come, and it's Haywood, the race 2 victor here in the flat 4s. Cam Dance will come across the line just behind. The gap was under 4/10 at the end. Dance setting the fastest lap on the final lap. Henry comes home in 3rd. Dan Stevens will get a 4th place out of this one, and he should be right happy with that. Big improvement on what happened to him in the first race of the night. And Henry King probably thinking what might have been. He was battling for the lead early on.
Yeah, unfortunately there, just a couple of moments it seems to fade on him at the end of it all. Was Lindsay Hobbs and Steb Miller will bring it across the line, the Excalibur Esports duo. 7th and 8th for them there. Unfortunately, slow pit stops and not quite having the pace of our front runners, but they will be classified in that one there as Hobbs will pour it over, and that will be his night done. And it means we can now go to our race results here for the second and final of our runs around Sandown here for our flat 4s.
Indeed. Haywood, Dance, and Henry, your podium. Same three guys on the podium, just in a slightly different order. Dan Stevens and Troy Allen will round out the top 5 for MFR. Henry King in 6th. Hobbs and Miller, your final 2 finishers. And unfortunate that Mark Cochran had his technical issues. We didn't see any of him in race 2. But hopefully next Flat 4 event we'll be able to see him back out there. And Aaron Gilbert, of course, didn't make an appearance in this race. Nothing required a safety car. Well, that's going to bring things to an end for the Flat 4s, but we still have the Flat 6s to come here in night 1 of V8SCOPS supports here at Sandown. Stay with us here on SimSpeed TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching SimSpeed TV. The Flat 4s and the Flat 6s here on the Friday night for V8SCOPS supports at Sandown. We are building up to a big weekend in the V8SCOPS Championship at the Sandown 500 on Sunday. Of course, we have our support categories first up on the roster, and the Flat 4s went really well. I think a very good set of 2 races there, but now we get into Flat 6 action. If you're just joining us, I'm Reese Gardner, Dan Yeaman with me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy handling production behind the scenes. So Dan, now we get to some slightly more familiar territory, Porsches.
Yep, indeed. Looking forward to seeing how these things go tonight. And yeah, indeed, you could call it my bread and butter, but I'm not the one I don't drive them normally personally. So I guess it's still kind of my bread and butter, but it's not from the hot seat. Indeed, because my hot seat usually involves pressing the radio chat button a lot. Well, actually, ideally not so much. But yeah, sometimes you just got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, let's see how much race control here are prepared for any potential shenanigans that go on here in the Flat 6s. Qualifying is active at the moment, and we're already seeing drivers set some very quick times. It was a bit of a slow start to the evening in the Flat 4s with lap times in the 1 minute 22 region, but these guys are running under 1 minute and 10 seconds. Ben Peterson currently on top with Dylan Shepard and Peter Pavlovich rounding at your top 3 so far.
Yep, and no big surprises to say. Peterson, Shepard up the top. It's good to see that Peter Pavlovich getting some good time in to start one of his first qualifying runs here this evening as well. In that 216 Pacific Esports Racing entries, he's got also, importantly, a nice bit of clear track to work with there as well, given the short lap times, even though the field is still relatively modest here tonight. The same, 11 drivers all looking for a bit of space. Certainly, that space is at a premium around a track like this, as Pavlovich will abandon that run there. Still got another 5 minutes if he wants, but we'll wait to have another crack in our time. As also importantly tonight here, Reese, as we do bring up Simon Fallon on screen, indeed having ourselves a bit of a guest appearance here. One of Australia's very own Porsche Carrera Cup Australia drivers.
Yeah, nicely done. And Fallon making a good case for himself there as he goes to second place on the timesheets. Really awesome job so far. Only a couple of tenths off Dylan Shepard, and who knows what this lap's going to be like. He'll have to be careful of the traffic in front of him though, making his way through turns 2 and 3, but you see that he's using that real-life experience to great effect, keeping the car nicely under control all the way through that section.
Yeah, that seemed quite well balanced between aggression through the opening sector and then also keeping it. Yeah, look at this. Goes to the left-hand side of the back straight, maybe trying to get a whisper of toe off of some of the guys ahead. Includes Dylan Shepard, who's currently on pole, but also Dylan was the driver who's to help get Simon in on the grid for this one here tonight. Off of Danny Nong there. A little bit of oversteer on the exit, but all the same, looks pretty tidy here for the Sonic Motor Racing Services driver up to turns 11 and 12. Not going to take the curb there through 11 nor 12, which makes some sense to me unless he was a little wide of where he wanted to be. We'll see if this is an improvement for Fallon. Not quite, unfortunately, at 108.6. Would have put him down in between Peterson and Cam Dance if that one had been what it was. A tenth and a half off what he has done so far tonight.
Oh, and there we go. That's going to be the end of that qualifying run for Simon Fallon. But we should see him back out on track in the last couple of minutes. Sam Sproul, meanwhile, in 7th spot in the lovely looking blackout livery on that machine. Doesn't take the opportunity to catch a bit of slipstream this time. We'll see what he can do to improve on a 109.11. His fastest lap is a 108.85. Big improvements from a few drivers. Harry Dodds and Simon Mazzomo trading places for 4th on the provisional grid. So as the session ticks to its end, we're really starting to see drivers show their hands.
I mean, yeah, they've got to make sure they get things sorted before everything's all said and done here. Sproul's going to be one of the few drivers left here in this one get a chance to do 2 more flying laps, given that it takes about 1:08 if you're on it. So he goes P8 on actually, pardon me, that was an invalid lap there. Oh, sorry, no. A 108.996 was valid, and it puts him in 8th. So our field spread pretty tight here as Peterson 108.507 was an improvement slightly on time there for the 81. I don't think that improved his position though.
It didn't.
No, it didn't, because it's actually about 3/10 back to Harry Dodds from where he is currently, as Shepherd comes across the line on his final prep lap, because this will be his final chance to improve his 108.290 to put that pole position out of reach of everyone else here, Reese.
Well, on board with Dylan Shepherd through turn 1, not using as much of the curb as we've seen in the flat 4s, but still bouncing off the curbs in the chicane. Got to try and avoid it on the inside here at turn 4. Get as straight an exit as you can for the run onto the back straight. Little kink, that's basically a nothing corner in any car, but then you really have to psych yourself up for the run down through the S's to Dandenong Road. An improvement for Sprowley, goes to 6th spot. Mason goes to 7th as Shepherd almost straight lines the S-bend there. And Dandenong Road looks lovely and smooth too. Will this be an improvement on his current provisional pole time? He's got about 1.5 tenths in hand over Simon Fallon, and looked like a lovely run through the last couple of corners. Straighten it out and make your way to the line. 108.289 is the time to beat, and it's a 108.296. My goodness, only half a hundredth of a second off his fastest.
So not quite an improvement, and that will be his qualifying session complete. But, well, if you're going to back up your pole time, only missing out by, as you said, 5 1/1000ths of a second is not a bad way to go about it here. So Sam Sproul was the last car that was going to get 2 flies. That's a little deep, I think, in 11-12, and loops it on the exit, trying to get that thing to the start-finish line in time. And he's going to be joined by, that's Craig Mason there in the 47, deciding that spinning in sympathy and symmetry was the name of the game. But that there brings us to the end of the qualifying session, Reese, and time to walk through our first grid of 2 for our flat 6s here tonight.
Well, Dylan Shepherd and Simon Fallon are your front row of the grid. Ben Peterson is going to line up alongside Frog Leap Juiced Racing's Harry Dodds. Matthew Deere will start in 5th alongside Sam Sproul, with Craig Mason and Simon Mazzomo 7th and 8th. And Mazzomo has alerted race control to potential impeding of his 3rd qualifying lap. We'll see what happens with regards to that. Cameron Dance is going to line up in 9th place, starting alongside Pacific Esports Racing's Peter Pavlovich. And then we have Anthony Green and Mark Noble, last 2 cars on the grid here. And, well, KRF, they have been a part of the Aussie sim racing scene for donkeys at this point. They will continue here at Sandown. Let's see if they can climb their way up the field. These are the conditions coming into this first race of the flat 6s. 22 degrees Celsius track temperature. It's looking very cool out there. We are at 4 p.m. in sim time, and it's looking a little bit chilly.
Yep. Will be interesting to see how drivers sort things out. Before we go to the race start, here's what Mazzomo was calling in. So down at Dandenong Road, Harry Dodds was ahead. Harry Dodds just off the racetrack there, but Mazzomo having to tighten things up a little bit. So out there, he felt cost him a potential improvement by a couple of tenths. And I mean, yeah, not just that, but also be having to make sure he then gets it pulled up early, so on and so forth. Well, about 30 seconds away from green flag here. Race also means a chance to remind everyone that just like the flat 4s, our flat 6s tonight do have compulsory pit stops in both of these races that they have to acknowledge. So it will be a minimum of 2 tyres for these drivers anytime from lap 2 through to the end of lap 24.
Yep, 2 laps in and 2 laps from the end. That's when you can't take your mandatory pit stop. So there's going to be some questions being asked over what tyres drivers are going to take. But for now, we'll focus on lap 1 because it's starting right now. And oh my goodness, that is a very poor getaway from Harry Dodds. He gets swamped by the rest of the field. An excellent start from Ben Peterson, but he can't take advantage of it. Got blocked by Shepherd, who spins coming out of turn 1.
Mason spins in the background as well on the 47 all by himself, unfortunately there. So Peterson through to the lead. Fallon holds on to the second. Sam Sproul promoted to third. Harry Dodds gets back into fourth place out of all of that one there with Dance. And then, pardon me, 116 and Matthew Deere to round out your top 6 as they get up to speed for the first time down the back straight. Cold temperatures means cold tyres in this car. The cold tyres can be nasty. And now that's a couple of cars around at turn 1 to boot as, here we go, turn 6 for the first time. Who's able to get it pulled in and tight? Dance. One of the drivers who really stood out there as being a little too wide. Deers in deep. He gets Dodds. And Pearson's around as well, separate.
Oh, wow. Okay. Absolute chaos at Dandenong Road. Matthew Deere overshot the braking zone there and went straight into Harry Dodds. All of that has promoted Simon Fallon to the lead of this race on his series debut. That is pretty crazy when you think about it. Sam Sproul and Cameron Dance are going to line up second and third at the start of the second lap here. So we've got a bit to dissect here. Look at Deere's run here through the S's. He gets on the brakes, but he just catches the curb.
Yep. And then independent of all that, Ben Peterson gets loose and around on the exit of turn 9. And worst of all for him, his teammate Sam Sproul clips him on the way through no fault of Sam's own there. Just no time to respond in behind Fallon. And you know what that's done? It's meatballed the 81 machine.
Oh, wow. That is absolute disaster.
Right on the left front.
Yeah, you could see the front left hopping. This is a replay of the start from Harry Dodds' perspective. He just didn't get the car off the line like he wanted to. And
get going, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's ultimately promoted a few drivers in terms of position, but then again, a couple of those drivers then lost it down at Dandenong Road, didn't they? So at the moment, looks like it's a race for second. Simon Fallon is in the lead by 2.3 seconds, and Sam Sproul is trying his best to keep Cameron Dance behind here. You can see that Sam does have a tiny bit of damage to his front right from where he clipped Ben Peterson.
Yeah, but looks like for him, luckily, he's gotten away with what damage he has picked up so far, though, in all of that. Simon Fallon continuing to eke out a couple of tenths here. Looks to be one of the better drivers, it seems, on the colder tyres to get this race underway. As a reminder at the top of your screen that the pit window is now open, but looks like no one has taken the option to come down for tyres just yet. They're going to run this one at least one more lap here. In the background there, that's Simon Zoma trying to find a way past Anthony Green. He's got to go around the outside at turn 6, nose ahead for the 954. Green rolls out at the end of the straight, so no contest there, thankfully, to make things a bit messy on lap 3. Pavlovich going to close up as well. Reese looks inside late, but not there. Space given, though, by Green might just give Pavlovich a chance down here at turns 10 and 11.
Green and Noble have driven very safely in this one, haven't they? And it's paid dividends. Currently, Green sitting in 5th, could be looking at 6th if Pavlovich manages to get the power down, which he doesn't. And Mark Noble in 7th spot right now, but he's looking to fall back to 8th because Dylan Shepherd goes by him on the start-finish stretch. Our top 3, meanwhile, the battle for second place is still massive right now. Cameron Dance has just come out of the very intense racing in the flat 4s, and it looks like he's taking some of that energy to the flat 6s.
Yeah, no surprises there in that respect. That he's here and he's ready to roll. Just can't quite find a way past Sam Sproul yet, as we're going to go on board to a replay here with Sam Sproul looking back at Dance. This is here just a moment ago at turn 1. Gets close, just the tiniest of margins if there was some. Well, might as well to quite tap as deep turn 9. Dance goes through.
Yeah, Sam deep at Dandenong Road and Dance through like it's nothing. Let's see what happened there. Oh, was there a bit of contact there through turn 6? Maybe, maybe not. But in any case, Sproul locked up on the way into the very tight left-hander there. And that has promoted Dance to second place. But it is a very lonely race for second place. Simon Fallon, having just set the fastest lap, is now 4 seconds in the lead as Shepherd decides to take his mandatory pit stop early. Probably a good decision. It'll give him a lot of time on warmed up tyres in the second phase of the race.
Yeah, and whilst we were watching the fighting up front, Peter Pavlich made his way by Anthony Green here. Gets the over, or tries to set up an over-under there off of the final turn. Not quite able to make it work, but will get the toe and was able to therefore get up the inside at turn 1 after the run down the front straight there. So that'll release the 216, I would think, to press on. We'll see what he can do in terms of closing down margins to cars ahead. Mazomo will be the next car for him in the 954. Meanwhile, gap out front continuing to grow as Simon Fallon just keeps putting in fast lap after fast lap. Obviously not really under much pressure, whereas of course Dance and Sproul behind are really going at it, but pulls nearly a second on the man in P2, who is, as a reminder, of course, your defending series champion in that number 1 machine. Looks like, despite the fact that I've heard drivers necessarily say the simulated Porsche 992 Cup car isn't the most fun car to drive at times, Reese, on the surface, understeery, especially on the cold tyres. But looks like for Simon Fallon, either he's very comfortable with the iRacing version of his 992 Cup car, or his real-life experience is translating over in meaningful ways.
I think a big part of being fast in this car is knowing how hard to push it early on, and Simon Fallon evidently has put in some practice time there and knows exactly how to push the iRacing car in these early phases. Dance managing to keep Sproul behind him for the time being, but we see that Sam is starting to come back gradually. Keep an eye on the 9.5 machine in the background as well. Simon Mazomo is on an absolute roll right now. He took time out of Sproul and Dance on the last lap, and on this lap, well, as Fallon makes his way into the pits, our race leader is going to take an early stop here. Mazomo once again setting faster times than Dance and Sproul. He dipped into the 108s. Cameron Dance and Sam Sproul could not get below a 109.
Yeah, not too much of a gain, unlike the previous. Those Dances are wide at turn 3.
No.
Sproul can't find a way through at 4, but they check up as a result. Well,
now that's the advantage for Mazomo.
Indeed, there you go. That's going to be a big chance. As Sproul still looking for a chance to get past and look up the inside here, but Dance will cover it off, and down towards turn 6 we go, and Cam able to just hang on to it as a result, but Mazomo, as a result, ever closing. This should be the fight for second, of course, all being well out there for Simon Fallon, but yeah, look at that, straddles the curb, right side tyres in the grass, and just able to get it pulled up, and Sproul, I think, the barest of hints of a touch. But neither of them come to the pit lane, and Mazomo won't go with them either. So they're going to stick it out here on the start of lap number 8.
Well, Fallon, Shepherd, Mason, and Dodds have all taken stops so far. Fallon with a 14.5-second stop, but Dylan Shepherd has the quickest box time out of anyone so far, 14.1 seconds for Shepherd. And in saying that, transit time was only a 10th quicker than Simon Fallon. So we'll see how that works out between those two later on. Mazomo, meanwhile, right on the back of Sam Sproul here. And I think the one thing that Dance and Sproul have been struggling with is consistency. They've obviously been quick. They've shown real shades of great pace, but they haven't been able to keep that going consistently for laps. And as I say that, yes, Dance goes deep at Dandenong Road, and Mazomo could see a way past him at the penultimate corner, but Dance is defensive. Sproul moves into effective second place and the lead of the race.
As Dance will bail, get his tyres changed over here. So
right.
I was just wondering who was going to be the first one to finally get out of this battle pack, and the answer is the number 1 of Dance, just in, like, it looks completely under control there, and no signs of a visual lock up there for the number 1, but just runs in too hot and is unable to get it stopped as a result, as we see there on screen. Anthony Green, Peter Pavlich racing again, as we are reminded and can indeed see for ourselves that Pavlich has dropped behind Anthony Green at some point during this race.
That happened a while ago. More than a couple of laps ago. Oh, yeah. I found it too. Chase says I found it just as I found it. Incident for Pavlovich at the chicane. Man, just hit the curb too hard. Car got unsettled, and Anthony Green goes, "Thank you very much, sir. I will pull on through." And just as we go back to live pictures, Pavlovich gets back past Green.
We've also got trouble for Matthew Deere. The 116's parked on the exit of turn 1, and the safety car has been called.
Oh, all right. There we go. Matthew Deere with very heavy damage on the exit of turn 1. And considering the positioning of that car, I get a feeling that he has straddled the curb and gone head on into the barrier. Sproul, unfortunately, missing the pit lane. So he's gotten himself a massive disadvantage here. Everyone should come into the lane just to lose as little time as possible under safety car.
I'd say not really. As long as Sproul pushes on. Problem is he's backed off here. This will hurt him because the safety car is waiting at pit exit and is keeping out of the fast lane. So everyone's clear to go by here. Sproul just needs to keep his foot in it and he'll be okay. But he was a little slow through turns 1, 2, and 3, as if he was actually respecting the fact that Matthew Deere is parked up on the exit of turn 1. So yes, Sproul might just get away with this as the safety car is waiting for him to come around where he can be picked up. Although, of course, it should be Simon Fallon who will therefore cycle through to the leaders. Here on replays, what happened to Matthew Deere? Straddling the curb, right dead centre, and ouch.
Yeah, did you hear the scrape as he went across the curb? The car bottomed out. That curb is very high, and it's tempting to go across it, but in a car like this, you absolutely don't want to do that. Unfortunate for Matthew Deere, that is the front end of his car destroyed. Listen to this. Listen to him as he goes across the curb. Ooh, a little bit of a grind there across the turn 1 exit curb and into the Armco. That is the front right destroyed on that 116. So Sam Sproul now takes his pit stop, and it looks like Simon Fallon will move back through into the lead of the race. And
second.
There we go. Sproul falls outside the top 4.
And yep, he just backed. I think whether it was a bit of potentially thinking that the safety car would come and pick him up, rather than let him go by at speed, just based on where he was on track or something else. That little bit of hesitation in Sector 1 has cost him at least 2 spots. His pit stop times as well. It was a long stop in the box, according to my timing. He was about 4.5, if not 5 seconds off what everyone else was stopped for in terms of just the time required to take 2 tyres. So something else there for the 606. Holding him up there.
Yeah, so there's the comparison. Yeah, almost 4 seconds slower in the box than Simon Fallon was. That's a real shame there for Sam Sproul. Shows you how a single moment can almost define a race. It's going to be very difficult for Sam to fight his way back to a podium position from here. Now that Mazzomo is in 3rd place, and we saw how quick he was versus Cameron Dance, we might very well see that pink 9.5 car make its way through into 2nd. And you see that Mazzomo is desperately trying to get the tyres hooked up here. Every driver would have changed 2 tyres at least. Not sure how much Harry Dodds changed. He did have some damage, but he does have a 21.2 second stop time to his name. And also, Anthony Green went through the pits but did not actually stop. So, let's think about that later, because we are back to green flag racing, and Simon Fallon has executed the restart perfectly. The field is bunched up, though, so could give him a good race. And have a look at how bunched up it is at the back. We have Harry Dodds and Ben Peterson fighting with Mark Noble and Peter Pavlovich. Pavlovich gets past Noble on the way into turn 1. Looks like the field has sorted itself out through these first few turns.
Yeah, so far so good through Sector 1 on the restart lap here. 12 of 26, so we're almost at halfway, but not quite there for this opening race of the flat sixes. Unfortunately, in all of that there, Ben Peterson is back out on track, but 7 laps down after having to take the compulsory repairs to fix the damage on his left front corner. Down the hill they come once again after the tyres have cooled off, and Dance is in deep again. Just avoids getting into the rear of Fallon that time, as towards the back of, or the second half of the field, I should say, Mason through Anthony Green looked a little deep there. Sorry, apologies. Harry Dodd's also looking to try and find a way through here at turns 11 or 10 or 11. And around the outside, he's looking at things as well, as we're being told. The restart under review here from race control as well. Being told potentially driver passing before the control line.
Yeah,
and,
that's it.
Oh dear. Now
Frog juiced car. That's Harry Dodds.
It's the one and only Frog juiced car here tonight.
Mazomo.
As indeed Mazomo threw on Dylan Shepherd, but or pardon me, that'd be Mazomo defending from Shepherd. Yeah. My apologies there. Get those positions around the right way for you there, folks. I'm just wondering. I hope that Anthony Green didn't lift out of the throttle there, because Anthony hasn't really looked like he's been very aggressive with defending positions in this race, and just. Of course, Dodds is alongside a long way there, or maybe contact between Mazomo and Shepherd. That will force the 954 off the track, and indeed bails out well before he gets into Daniel to try and pull that one up and get on it. Just need to maybe see if is that Green slow, because that looks like a roll out of the throttle before the control.
I mean, Dodds did get a massive jump on him, but yeah, Green had every right to stay ahead. And there's that slight contact there. Dylan Shepherd on Simon Mazomo, and the move completed. But I don't think Mazomo is going to be too happy with that. A little bit of contact at the fastest point on the circuit. In any case, that is going to round out our top three as Fallon, Dance, and Shepherd, and Mazomo goes off at the chicane just ahead of these guys, Sproul and Mason.
And unfortunately, that drops him off the back of Dylan Shepherd. Also a slowdown that he has to clear as well. And coming up this back straightaway means he should be vulnerable to Sam Sproul, because it's not gone yet. Reese is going to have to jump on the brakes early here at turn 6 to try and get this clear, because any more corners he goes through, that'll add time. And did he go massive back off there and back up there of Sproul and Mason. Ooh. The 47 going to try and find his way through as the Sloan finally clears at turn 9. But now the inside coming here for Sproul at 11 and 12.
Well, Mazomo's going to defend the inside of the final corner. That's going to back Sproul up a little bit and allow Craig Mason a slight advantage, but they are all together now on the start-finish straight. Mazomo massively defensive. He is protecting that inside line for all it's worth. What's going to happen into turn 1? Sproul not alongside, so Mazomo can rejoin the racing line. And Sproul sent wide a little bit again in turn 1. I think Sproul's just, he's thinking about two things at once here. How can I get past Mazomo, and how can I defend from Mason? He's stuck between a rock and a hard place right now.
Definitely looks to be the case. So here's how Mazomo got it. Just big twitch, big lock up, big hop through the grass. 1, 2, 3, just like you do. And yep, that hurt him there. As back to live pitches. Harry Dodds eyeing off the back of Craig Mason, who's eyeing off the back of Sam Sproul. Mazomo just a little bit further ahead, that it looks like he's out of a threat for at least the next half a lap or so, as everyone makes it through Dandenong that time without too much of a concern. So there is this fight there for, what is that, pardon me, 4th on back, and it's a 4-car pack. But now, after this restart lap, Cam Dance seems to have found a little bit of pace and consistency in it here tonight, Reese, because he's not let go of Simon Fallon this time round.
Yeah, certainly not. Ever since the restart, Dance has just kept the pressure on, hasn't he? He's been incredibly consistent behind Simon Fallon, who hops across the curbs at the chicane a little bit unsettledly. But the exit of turn 4 is with him. They are pushing so hard. They're just grazing that wall on the exit. That's one of my favorite places to see just how hard drivers are pushing. It's on the bottom. It looked like that was Craig Mason getting the wall there. That'll give an advantage to Harry Dodds, who's trying to make up some spots here and still could potentially have a restart infringement hanging over his head.
Yeah. The wait and see game there as to exactly what's going to happen. So this is where the racing action is at. Your top 2, which could be your top 3, is Dylan Shepherd, well, fastest last time around by only a couple of hundredths compared to Cam Dance, but on this particular lap looks to have gained a couple of tenths to his name here in this one. So they'll wind up down the front straight, and indeed a 108.3 plays a 109.0 for both the top two, so make that a good 7/10 going away of Dylan Shepherd there in this what will be a fight now for the top three, and then everyone in behind Simon Mazzomo to try and run their way out of the opening sector. This is going to be a bit of a slow burner by the feel of things now for a bit. Everyone's sort of settling in. We'll look here on board with Shepherd what they're doing at the end of the back straight. Just on 260 kilometers an hour as he comes into turn 6, and then down the gears. About 75 there, it looks like, Reese, at turn 9 as they get it pulled up. Sproul off at turn 9 in the battle pack behind, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, and he's off in a big way. And also joining him is Peter Pavlovich. A little bit of playing in the sand pit for those two. And you really get a sense for how slow the gravel traps are now. Pavlovich wasn't able to get over 45 k's an hour in there. Again, that's not the first time we've seen that happen tonight. A car just clipping the curb there, and Pavlovich as well getting a bit of a lock up on. But they have avoided the wall. They'll keep it clean for the time being. That's a poor exit, meanwhile, for Simon Fallon. That gives Cameron Dance the chance he needs to get into the lead of the race. And he is ahead by the time they get halfway down it. But Dylan Shepherd is rapidly catching up to these two. It is a proper three-way battle for the race lead here. Dance files into P1, manages to keep it in between the curves, but there's the dive back from Fallon. He's pulled it up. How did he pull that up?
Oh, that was beautiful control from Fallon in the 777. As you said, it was one heck of a lunge there into Dandenong Road, but gets it pulled up and is able to hang on to the race lead. Of course, pulling it up that aggressively there and parking the bus on corner exit allows the door to open up for Dylan Shepherd on the inside too. He'll go to second place and he's looking for the race lead, but here we go, Fallon defending. Going to try and cover off the 43, but it's not enough. Inside line is open as Fallon in too deep to hold the lead. He's in deep.
Oh, can he hold on to it? Keeps the inside line into the chicane. Dylan Shepherd will just fall back behind for the time being. Okay, reset, everybody. Let's try this again.
It all started there at turn 4 on the last lap when Fallon was a little wide, but let's have a ride of his on water. Back to 4th gear to get it slowed up for turn 6, and then just keeps it away from the curbs on the inside, of course. Using all of the apex curb there, maybe using Dance a tiniest bit there to get the job done. And he's under attack from Shepherd as we head back to live pitches, but hangs on to the lead. And he's going to cover the middle of the road. Tap from Shepherd right in the gearbox, but he gets it pulled up still this time again.
What a great race this is. Fantastic fighting from our top three. There's a little bit of biff and barge, but just enough to keep it exciting. This is exactly the kind of racing that we love Porsches for, especially considering these drivers are all very experienced and acting very professional out there on the racetrack. Love this. Coming into turn 1 once more. They space out again. Shepherd is really pushing it, isn't he, in the braking zone, isn't he? But it seems that Fallon is doing just enough to keep him behind. Let's check this out then. Shepherd trying to move through in the slipstream, but Fallon immediately goes to protect it. Shepherd almost had to back out of it there. Fallon then responding by going a little too deep into turn 1. Amazing that he still kept the lead out of all of that.
Indeed, and look at this now, actively trying to break the toe here on lap 20 of 26, and we've got to do this all over again once they get this one done. Dance is in too deep. That's going to cost him a slowdown there, I think. No, it's not. Okay, so he's back there, and he's lost a bit of time, but he's going to be in it still. But now it's quickly becoming Fallon versus Shepherd. Unfortunately for Cam, maybe it's the case of having done the 2 flat 4s races and now into the 2 flat 6s races. 4 races back-to-back, sure, it's not that long time-wise, but just the intensity of the night's action might be the case. We might go back to live as soon as we can because Shepherd challenging the outside for turn 1 against Fallon, who has to leave him the space. Reese, I think we're going to have ourselves a new leader here at turn 2. Although Fallon's going to contest right at the outside of 2 for 3. No, he can't.
Oh, and a bit of a slide as well. He does recover it, though. So, we have a new race leader, Dylan Shepherd. And Simon Fallon will now have to think about Cameron Dance and potentially even Simon Mazzomo here. Mazzomo, once again, once the race gets into its rhythm, Mazzomo just keeps ticking off those fast lap times, and he's starting to make an impression on these three.
Once again, as you said, he just had to work his way into it. As Dance is in so deep again, just avoids the back bumper of Fallon. So Dance has got a couple of times here where he's good under brakes, but then just a couple of times where it's here not quite clicking for him, unfortunately. They've got to try and hunt back down Shepherd here with good runs through these corners to try and close down the margin on the straights with the advantage of what toe they can get off of the race leader here. So this is what it looks like from Cam Dance, that pass for the lead around the outside of 1 to get the inside of 2 there. And Fallon gets the curb on 3, and it just completely throws the rear of the 777 out for him on the exit there. As you can see them, both of our second and third place guys riding over that exit curb again, trying to find every little bit they can to close down the margin on the 43 that leads this race. And again, make sure you get a clean exit off 4, be able to drive it out straight on the power early, and make sure you get top speed. Though it looks like that was a little too conservative for Fallon, and Dance was a little too aggressive on the way in, cost him through the apex.
Yeah, so at the moment it's looking like Dylan Shepherd's starting to walk away here. Looking at... Oh.
Yeah. You finish that sentence and I'll jump in.
Yeah, looking at the lap times, I was going to say, seems that Dylan Shepherd has got a big lap time advantage, but Cameron Dance running quickest in the top 3. But Simon Mazzomo is setting high 108s, which is pretty impressive to see. You can see the gap is visually ticking down there, and the top 4 equally spaced out just about as they start the 23rd lap.
Indeed, we've only got 4 laps left in this opening race of the night. Now, unfortunately, okay, it's coming up on screen now, Reese. How about that? The contact between Dylan Shepherd and Simon Mazzomo up at turn 6, which put Mazzomo off the road and lost him a couple of spots before the safety car, has been has converted into a 5-second time penalty, which means that we are looking at this rate. Shepherd drops back into 4th. Can Harry Dodds maybe close down the gap to our top 4 and potentially shuffle the post-race position of Shepherd back to P5 even in all of this here? Because these top 4 here, if they get, if Falcon and Dance get back on Shepherd properly, and we get full scrap for that one there, maybe add Mazzomo into the mix too. That'll slow them down, and maybe, just maybe, also bring Harry Dodds into post-race consideration.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as things stand right now, Dodds is about 6.2 seconds behind Shepherd. So Dylan will still be safe if he keeps this pace up. But yeah, that time penalty is guaranteed that Fallon will likely take the win here, but he's got to keep it consistent over these last 3 laps. Mazzomo and Dance are rapidly closing up to each other, and I think we might be seeing them start to fight in the last few laps as well. And I think that's what Simon Fallon is really hoping for, because he's had more than enough excitement for one race. He's still got another one to go after this.
Yeah, they're that even on pace, it seems, that we're looking at their last lap, 108.5, 108.6, 108.4, 108.3. The spread is at most 2 and a bit tenths, and it was Mazzomo that was actually fastest last time around, but stuck behind Dance now as they come across the line to start the penultimate lap of race number 1 for the Flat Sixes tonight. And on that particular one, it was Shepherd who went fastest. Here we go, on board with Dance.
Mazzomo.
Looking at Mazzomo, he shows the nose, but not enough to threaten the position there. And yeah, I get the feeling Fallon, on lap times, it's like he's decided to settle in and back off. But these guys don't know about the post-race penalty for Shepherd because that hasn't been announced in the sim. They'd have to be listening into the broadcast to be aware of that one.
Yeah, they would. Well, in any case, I think that Fallon is doing everything right at the moment. He's not trying to pressure Shepherd too hard for the win. At least the the title of first car to cross the line on track, but he's doing just enough to stay well ahead of Dance and Mizomo, who still likely to fight amongst themselves here on the final lap if they do come together. White flag comes out, and Dylan Shepherd will cross the line. Fallon, Dance, Mizomo, Dodds, Mason, your top 6. It's been an all right race from Craig Mason. He's had to climb back up into 6th spot. I've got to say that Mizomo and Dance have probably been some of the stars of the show here in terms of positions gained, though, because Dance started 9th, is in 3rd. Mizomo started 8th and is in 4th. It's all about consistency in these races, and it looked like a slight error there from Dance as well as from Fallon just ahead. This gives Mizomo the chance he needs. Draws alongside, coming up the hill, down the back straight. And Dance will give Mizomo just enough room to squeeze through on the left-hand side of the drivers. But Dance goes really deep into the S's. Is that too deep? He manages to keep it within track limits and defend from Mizomo. And Simon does try to get the inside for Dandenong Road, but Dance, running deep almost tactically, manages to keep the position. It won't be over between those two, but it is over for Dylan Shepherd, who is going to cross the line in 1st place. Dance will defend from Mizomo. Shepherd, though, will not be awarded the title of victor of this race. It will be Simon Fallon, who is officially the winner of this first race of Flat Sixes here at Sandown, and that is what almost cost Cameron Dance 2nd place.
Ooh-wee. Well, there we have it. Shepherd will be demoted to 4th after the results of that one. So, yeah, Simon Fallon takes his race win here tonight. Well, that's only half of the job done. In that case, we'll bring you the race results here in just a moment. And then it is basically straight back into it for race number 2. So Fallon will be promoted to the race win on the official results. Then Dance, Mizomo, Shepherd slots into 4th place. Then Harry Dodds will be back there in 5th. Unfortunately, lost a bit of time, it seems. Just didn't quite have the pace of our top 4 tonight, Reese. But still, top half of the field. Should be pretty happy with that. It was Craig Mason behind him in 6th. Sam Sproul, unfortunately, up and down for him, will end up in 7th. Anthony Green a bit further back there in 8th. Peter Pavlovich, good one-lap pace, but again, a couple of moments of him sees him back in 9th. And Mark Noble just behind to round out your top 10. And that was it for the lead lap drivers. And Ben Peterson was out there on track, I believe. Did finish the race despite being 7 laps down. Unfortunately, Matthew Deere retired. And then for Aaron Gilbert and Henry King, they were our 2 safety car drivers. As we're going to have a look here once again, that pass by Simon Fallon to take the race lead back after the safety car off Cam Dance. I have to say, it's probably been our move of the season here in the Flat Sixes race.
100%. That was a fantastic move, and it's something that you don't see very often, which really helps things out there. Dylan Shepherd will keep the pole position start for race 2, and Fallon will start alongside him. And then, of course, behind them, Cameron Dance and Simon Mizomo will be on the 2nd row for the 2nd race. Harry Dodds will start in 5th. He'll be hoping for a slightly better getaway from the line this time around. Craig Mason will be hoping for a cleaner first couple of laps. Sam Sproul will be looking to take up more positions, starting alongside Anthony Green. Pavlovich will want to make a couple of improvements too, as well as Mark Noble, and then Ben Peterson and Matthew Deere, the 2 drivers who really missed out in race 1. They'll be hoping for better luck this time. Oh boy, this is starting to get a bit dark out there as well. The time is nearly 7 p.m. in sim time, 19 minutes to 7 to be exact, and now 90 minutes to 5, the revs rise, and we get ready to go for race 2 of the Flat Sixes. We are away for an incredible start. Oh, Sproul. Yeah, that's unfortunate there. Spin off the line pretty much, but a great start from Simon Fallon, and Mizomo immediately challenging Dance for 3rd. Is this going to be a move? It is. There he goes, up into 3rd place.
Well, that was dramatic start as well. Also, I believe Matthew Deere, unfortunately, did not get away. And Ben Peterson had to absolutely do a massive pull out of the left lane to start that race. Thankfully, that didn't cause him any issues. Now up into 5th as he tries to hunt down Dance and Mazzomo, but it is Fallon and Shepherd again at the front of the field who will lead us away towards Dandenong Road for the first time here. And get it pulled up. That's a bit deep from Peterson. He will find the gravel. It won't cause... Oh, gets actually slippery on the way back onto the track, and look how many spots he unfortunately drops there, trying to get things going again. Looks like it'll be okay once he's now down at turn 12 as we end lap number 1 of the race.
Fallon getting pressured.
Oh, we've got 3 slowdowns. Fallon needs to serve a slowdown.
Oh.
Pavlovich has a slowdown to serve, and Craig Mason too.
Well, Fallon will fall back behind Shepherd, and oh no! Mazzomo getting cleaned up there. Simon Fallon moving across on the racing line and hitting Mazzomo off the track. Man, Simon has had a bit of a rough night here, and it hasn't gotten any better for him.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's now got to slow down the service. We'll have a look at it here. So Fallon, slow down all the way down the front stretch, tries to clear it there, and yeah, just moves across as Mazzomo got an overlap. Can also tell you it goes from bad to worse for your race 1 winner. He's with Ben Pearson, by the way. So, Sam Sprouse, sorry. So good initial start as Dodds slow again, unfortunately, in the 981, but the rear tyre is absolutely lined up for the 606, and that flies him into the Armco on that left side. But as we go back to live pictures here, unfortunately, not good news for Simon Fallon. That slowdown must have maybe even been picked up back at Dandenong Road or thereabouts, because it converted into a drive-through penalty on the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, it did. There's an iRacing issued black flag next to Simon Fallon's name on our in-sim timing screens.
Oh, Ken.
Oh, easy does it. Now it's Harry Dodds who's looking at getting onto the podium here, as Dance once again seems to be struggling a bit with cold tyres at the very start of the race. Someone who will be looking forward to getting heat into their tyres is Matthew Deere, who's just taken his mandatory stop. And here's what happened to Simon Fallon. It was at the S's. You run a bit too deep in turn 6, and right there, you got to keep 2 wheels on the blue and white curb. Otherwise, you get slammed with an iRacing slowdown, and if you don't clear it in time, then it gets upgraded to a drive-through.
Yeah, you just see there, he was trying to get it turned into the left initially as he'll come into the pits and presumably serve the penalty first, and then maybe double up for a bit of his compulsory pit stop as Harry Dodds trying to find a way past Cam Dance there. As inside for turn 1 should be Dodds's, and indeed clears the number 1 machine through the corner. Now promotes the 981 to position number 2 in this race. Dylan Shepherd, in the meantime, has been able to happily check out. And in fact, it was not a drive-through penalty. It's a stop and hold.
Right.
For the 777. Now,
well, there's a slight benefit in that. It means that he doesn't have to make 2 visits to the pit lane. He can just serve the penalty and then get the service done on his car. But still, it's not ideal.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal. I'm just wondering, is he even going to be able to get back out before the race leader comes around? Because he did indeed opt to take his compulsory stop before the penalty began to serve. So this is going to be close as to whether he goes a lap down on your race leader and Dylan Shepherd. He will go a lap down here. The 777 has just lit the revs up and away he goes. So unfortunate there for Fallon, but the pit stop's cleared. So if we do happen to have a safety car or something, he could cycle back onto the lead lap and then just have to make his way back through the field. But that requires someone having an unfortunate incident in that case.
Yeah, we have come close to that once or twice. Matthew Deere, unfortunately, went off at Dandenong Road a lap ago. What I am noticing as well is that Dylan Shepherd has picked up quite a bit of front-end damage somewhere. Yeah, look at the front end of his car there. Now, Apparently, we're hearing that we are going to see how that came about. Shepard's still in the lead of this race and still sitting pretty fast lap times, but that's obviously not how you want the front end of a Porsche to look.
Yeah, not quite. So the answer is, here you go. So there you go. Falcon's trying to clear the slowdown now, but then wanders onto the racing line to take 11 and 12 a bit more normally there, and then in too hot. Shepard tries to crisscross, but Falcon had it parked up, and you can see it just dabbing the brakes because every corner you go through anywhere near to top speed, or anywhere near to normal pace, is going to add time to the slowdown, not take it away. And you also have to consider the fact race on lap 1, slowdown penalties are extra harsh because of the fact that it doesn't have a valid lap time to use as a reference point for you, unfortunately. So, yeah, literally iRacing goes for the worst possible outcome, even though, say, the time gain there was all of maybe 2 tenths.
Yeah, shame for all involved, but that's how things stand, and this is how things are going to go for a while for Simon Mazzomo, who's had just taken his mandatory pit stop up in front of Matthew Deere now. And Mazzomo's another driver will be hoping for a safety car. Mark Noble will not be calling the pits this time around. He's going to get back going nicely. But the battle for second continues out on track. Harry Dodds versus Cameron Dance. And keep an eye out for Ben Peterson as well. Started outside the top 10 and is now up into 4th. He's trailing just behind these guys.
Work your way into turns 2 and 3 on board here with Dance. You can see, just trying to get the car to actually turn in. A lot of steering off required. And then get 4 with just the right amount of curb to use on the exit there and extend the track limits. Watch here. Dance, bit of slipstream to help him, but not close enough to make anything of it. And you'd think at this point, I wonder if Dance will opt on maybe trying to undercut here or pit strategy, because should have a healthy margin back to car. So that she Sam Sproul slow, I think, on the exit of turn 9 maybe. Has he found the gravel? Yeah, looks like he's found the gravel, as Dodds will be the first to pit out of second place there.
Okay, so Dodds getting his stop done early, and we'll be hoping for a bit more time spent on warm tyres in the second half of the race. Okay, let's check out what happened here. As, yeah, makes sense that a little bit of a lock-up there coming into Dandenong Road will result in a trip through the gravel trap. A very slow trip through the gravel trap indeed.
So yeah, it's almost like torture these days for these cars. There's Sproul has had another moment again. Solo at turn 3. It's going to allow Anthony Green through for position momentarily, although I get the feeling that compromise throw weight enough. Also the fact that he's not looking to get too caught up in things. He might just roll out a tiny bit here, and it looks like that's the case, because look how much speed Pavlovich has got on the 308. No, both drivers going to have to yield. The answer is Green's actually going to hang on to that spot for now. Although Pavlovich, there's the lunge up the inside. The door thankfully opened just enough for him to be able to take that one away from the 308. But almost got in a little hot there as Mark Noble around on the exit of the final turn. It looks like he's got the car fired up and going, so he will head in the right direction at some point as we'll look to a couple of replays here, starting with Sproul's solo escapades here. Just think, too much curb at, well, the curb wrong at 2, and then checks up for 3 there.
Yeah, tried to, well, he pulled an over-under, didn't he, very nicely to recover from that. But keep an eye out here on the fight between these two drivers of Pavlovich and Green. Sam Sproul, meanwhile, has taken his mandatory pit stop. Also saw that Ben Peterson has made his way into the lane as well. That leaves our top 5. These two in 3rd and 4th at the moment, still owing us a stop.
Yeah, just watching to see here. It is now down to our top 5. So Peterson critically has gotten out ahead of Harry Dodds for those who have come into the pits. So that early strategy, or early stop, I should say, for Peterson. No, pardon me. Peterson just actually comes in, according to my timing, a lap later than Dodds, and is able to sneak out ahead, which is interesting because Dodds was in second. So how has that happened for the 81 machine? My brain is now a little confused as to how that's. He was in behind Dance, and he's come out ahead of Dodds. So the overcut has worked for the 81 in that case. And part of that will be also because, just for a moment before Dodds got by at turn 1 there, and I can actually read it for myself for my own timing, how's 1.5 seconds faster? Well, 1.5 seconds less time stationary in your pit box. That might do it there for Ben Peterson the advantage. Although Dodds back through there at turn 1 and able to stretch a margin as Peterson a little loose there on the exit of turn 4. As you just see that at the top of screen, Dylan Shepherd going faster again into the mid 108s now is right on board here with Peterson for a second and enjoy the flow here for these cars down the S's and Dandenong Road, and watch them again build the speed back up on the exit here. So it's a short blast, of course, to turns 11 and 12 here, and then slowing it down through the complex. Make sure you get it right here at the final corner, and he almost loses the rear on traction. Thankfully, Peterson hangs on though, and but will lose a bit of time as a result to the 981 ahead. So Dodds back in as the driver leader of the pit. As you see there, Simon Zomo actually goes faster. Now, fastest of everyone in this race. Of course, that is valid times at least. There, 108.401. Now the best time set in session as stay on board here with Peterson. Let's watch the top speed here at the end of the back straight race, and so looking forward to seeing this new overlay here from the crew at ATVO in action. So we go just shy on what was that, 256 at the end of the back straight there.
Very high speeds indeed that these cars reach. And of course, they make up a lot more time in the corners as well compared to the V8s that we're going to be seeing running tomorrow and Sunday. Shepherd remaining in the lead and still setting times that are comparable with very quick pace. Oh, Sam Sproul's just gone off. Looks like that's at the final corner. He is way off in the weeds. And, oh, there we go. He's revving up. He's managed to get it fired up again. But that's an awkward spot for someone to go off. Shepherd is going to swing on by and immediately go into the pits. This is what happened to Sproul. Wait, hang on a minute. That was earlier. That wasn't the same incident that we just saw. So this is a lap later.
It really feels like, unfortunately, it is not the night that Sam Sproul would expect to have, and yet that looks more like what we were able to find. And parks it up nicely next to the barrier there. Unfortunately, you don't normally want to be there by any semblance of imagination. As Shepherd away from the pit lane, 13 seconds. That is an incredibly quick time. So, of course, picking the right tyres, as it were, for your pit stop does make a difference here on the track. But yeah.
Yeah,
a second or so on everyone else in this race. Pit stop time wise, that's doing something about right.
Oh, easy though through the chicane for Harry Dodds. Keep himself ahead for the time being of Peterson and Mazzomo. All of these guys have come into the pits. Actually, it looks like I don't know if this is an error on my end, but Ben Peterson is not showing up with a stop time next to him. All right, so can confirm that Peterson did go into the pits and stop. Sometimes my local timing decides to throw a curveball at me and make me look like a dum-dum. But yeah, all of these guys have come into the pits now. It is an out-and-out race to the end. What is currently 6th spot. I was going to say something about the about pit strategy. Yes, these cars, I've noticed they're one of the few road cars that you actually see it's a viable strategy to change the tires only on one side. Here at Sandown, I suppose you would go for right side tires because all of there's only really 2 significant right-handers. So wondering if it's a combination of Shepard either picking those tires correctly or pulling up in his box in the right way.
I mean, I would expect that it's a matter of just choosing the 2 fastest tires more than anything else. Because, yeah, as you said,
but then how do you know which ones are the fastest? Obviously
generally,
testing, but...
Yeah, you can test it and find out, because if you go and look at the tires black box, you'll see which tire tick gets replaced first, which would indicate which tire gets changed first. One would expect, the theory is meant to be that it's the 2 tires closest to the pit garages, whatever track you're at. So around here at Sandown, that would imply right side tires, which is also, I would say, the tires you want to change around here as well. But there have been some circuits where changing the opposite side of the car is correct. So yeah, there you go.
Well, this fight has stayed pretty much in lockstep while we've been on that little tangent, but the intensity has not gone down. Have a look at Ben Peterson. It seems that he's got the braking zone for Dandenong Road worked out. It's can be very tempting to make up tons of time in the braking zone around this track, and ultimately it will not help you. Like on the exit of that last corner, it's all about keeping the momentum up and making sure you get the best exit possible onto the start-finish straight. There's someone coming out of the pits, and it's Cam Dance, and he is going to fall behind this pack. That is an overcut. Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, Dance and Peterson! Oh, dearie me.
And all that starts with one heck of a lunge from Simon Mazzomo at turn 1. Yeah, that might take a little bit to unpack and reprocess here, as slowdown still need to be served for Dance because he went so far off the road. It's giving him one hell of a penalty there, but wowee. All right then, well. That quickly exploded all of a sudden there. Yeah. As Dance attempted to cycle back into that battle pack.
Yeah, interesting here from Ben Peterson is car behavior. Watch this. So Mazzomo goes up the inside. Peterson also passes Dance and tries to cover Mazzomo, but then he goes really tight on the exit, and Dance thought the door would open, but it didn't. If we could get an onboard for Peterson, that would be mucho appreciato, Mr. Kennedy. But yeah, in any case, it looked like Peterson was really keeping it tight to the exit of the corner. Potentially was trying to come back at Mazzomo, but Dance was the spanner in the works. So Mazzomo is now alongside at this point. Keep an eye on the wheel work.
Does he lock the rears here?
No, I don't think so.
No.
He just turned all the way to the inside of the corner, and Dance was going for the inside at the same time.
Yeah. It's something you just don't normally see, as it were, in all of that. Because, yeah, usually you expect that car, some of the pieces in the case, you just try and, open up the corner entry as best as you can, despite having come into a pretty aggressive defense, and just sort of run that one out wide. But, yeah, I think, to be honest, I would have expected that if I was in Cam Dance's seat in that particular moment, but alas, that was not to be. And the 81 and the 1 will drop back a couple of seconds off of what is now the fight for fourth. It will be the fight for second once again, once Peter Pavlovich and Anthony Green cycle through the pit lane. Here, as Dodds and Mazomo, the two glued together. Mez looking back in rhythm after a couple of rough laps for him. See now if he can take what will be effective second off the 981 here in the next, well, we've got ourselves 7.5 laps remaining here in this one. See what he can make of it. 6.5. I'll correct myself there.
Not too long to go in this one.
No. I'm wrong on both accounts. Oh, Matthew Deere in the background. It goes in a bit deeper. Dandenong.
Yeah.
Send 116 back a spot.
And Pavlovich is in the lane too. So that will release another car from an appointment with the Bank of CPS. That leaves Anthony Green in the lead. Only car left to take a stop, and he's actually going to fall behind Dylan Shepherd on track. Here's what happened to Matthew Deere. Seems like this has been one of his favorite places to go off tonight. He has had no luck here at all.
But just completely self-inflicted, just missing or losing sight of that curb there on the inside there, which you just cannot afford to take, as indeed live pictures here. Shepherd up the inside of Green. No real contest afforded by Green. Tried to defend that one a little more aggressively, it seemed, than he has some of his other spots in this race, but Shepherd just far too comfortable and far too quick to be able for Green to be able to put up much of a fight. When they come to the line now, it'll be 7 laps to go. Apparently my brain no worky. For some reason saw 18 and thought 24. Thank you, Mr. Smartass Director, changing it over from laps completed to laps to go. Yes, there you go. How about that? It's just under 7 laps to go now. The leader's in turn 1.
Oh dear, we have good banter here on Sim Speed. Let's see what the banter's like between Dodds and Mazomo after this one, though, because it looks like the fight is starting to really ramp up. Dodds has managed to keep this position for the longest time. This is the battle for effective second, and Mazomo is looking for a bit of redemption here, because in both races tonight, he has had contact with other cars that have sent him off the circuit through no fault of his own. And Dodds is also looking for something from tonight too. Remember that in both races tonight, he has had poor getaways from the line, and that's caused dramas for him. So let's see which of these drivers will be able to hold on for that runner-up position.
I mean, Mez, he's got moments of pace. It's just whether it doesn't somehow come undone due to some kind of incident. As Green is in the lane, so this is now no longer effective. It is actually second and third that they're racing for. There you go, Dodds on the defensive. Mazomo looking. He'll try and go around the outside at 1. He's going to try and hold Dodds down perhaps there. Just gives him the inside for turn 2. We saw this between Fallon and Shepherd in race number 1, and it happens again here, this time between Mazomo and Dodds. And nice exchange of positions there for the 954 and the 981.
Yeah, I was going to say, nicely done from Mez. Despite that slight bit of contact, they still managed to keep it clean and managed to pull off a very nice looking move. But now Dodds in the slipstream will be rapidly fighting back. Let's see what the braking zone is like for Dandenong Road. Both of them keeping it nice and stable, though Mazomo, I would argue, went in a little bit deeper than Dodds did. So will Harry be able to just slow it up here in the second last corner, widen out the final turn and nail the throttle? Probably not as well as Mazomo did. Now that he's ahead, Mez is going for it.
Now let's see here, though, how the slipstream will now work in Dodds' favour down the straights. Not enough to make Mazomo feel threatened. Goes for the maximum entry angle there into turn 1, using all that extra bit of road past the lines, and does make him angle in a little bit there at turn 1 Sandown, but has worked out in his favour for now. As in behind Matthew Deere hops the
Hippity
curb
hoppity.
at turn 3. Cam Dance trying to go and chase down Ben Peterson for the 4th. Although Matthew Deere calling a bump and run, so something at turn 1 here perhaps, Reese.
Okay, braking zone. Dance moves to the inside and... Well, I don't know. Dance had overlap. He was ahead.
I guess the only thing is
It was a bit of a dive, yes. Probably a bit optimistic, but I don't know how race control would define that, as actually it looks to me like Deere has once again had trouble at Dandenong Road. This is the run through. He doesn't hit the curb this time. Oh, that's actually Dance. Sorry. It's Dance who had the issue. And Deere moved on through, but immediately got on the brakes.
I'm wondering if that essentially a bit of a maneuver there to try and throw race control for a bit of a loop, saying that, oh, I haven't taken the spot off him through circumstances unrelated, because that definitely wasn't a redress voluntarily engaged by Cam Dance there. But I mean, yeah, the initial incident, I think Deere trying to aggressively defend the spot, Dance trying to carry some mid-speed or mid-corner momentum there. Just, yeah, they make a little bit of contact in the middle of the road there. I think all in all, that's, yeah, I think would agree was pretty fair play, given Dance wasn't running Deere any too much off the road, all things considered. But alas, we'll leave that to race control to make their decision on that. As yeah, looks like it'll be potentially the fight for second that we want to keep our eyes on towards the end of the race. Maybe again the fight for 5th could flare up. Also potentially 8th place between Anthony Green and Craig Mason might come into play, and also just maybe if Simon Fallon is still smashing out fast laps, which he is pretty decently, doing mid 1 minute 8s, he could potentially snatch himself P9, maybe even P8, depending on Anthony Green's pace, relatively speaking, here towards the end of the race. But it's 2.5 to go for your leaders, 3 to go here for these drivers, as there's Fallon in the background. So we're going to ourselves two battles to keep our eyes on. It could become a 3-way fight there at the back of the top 10.
Yeah, well, Simon Fallon was he was 1.3 seconds quicker than Craig Mason on the previous lap. This lap that they've just completed, he was 8 tenths faster. So with the gap between Mason and Fallon now at 3.2 seconds, I would say that roughly gears him up to be on the tail of Mason and Green right at the end of the lap. As in the pits, Sam Sproul. That is unfortunate there for Sam. That is the second time he's visited the lane. Evidently there's some problems there in that car that he has not been able to overcome. But this is the closest fight on track at the moment, and you see that that Bob Jane T-Mart's Porsche rapidly closing in behind. That is our official Race 1 winner, trying to chase them down after an unfortunate run here in Race 2. But penultimate lap is about to start for this man, Dylan Shepherd, who has escaped the ire of the stewards this time around and looks to be cruising to victory. But we will see in another 3.1 K's time.
Yeah, not so much the penultimate lap as the final lap. It's penultimate for basically, well, it's still penultimate for everyone else around the circuit, as we've actually lost Anthony Green on circuit.
Oh, we have.
Which means that Craig Mason's been released, which is kind of important for him, because if he got stuck behind his own teammate there for much longer, that would have given Simon Fallon a bit more of a genuine chance of hunting down the number 47 here. They've still got 1 and a bit laps to go, of course, don't forget. So that could still potentially come into it. But as I said, it would take him right to the rear bumper of the 47, probably right as they reach the checkered flag without any other intervention. As your race leader, though, already down the back straight for the final time, down the S's for his final time tonight, and all calm and under control for the 43 of Dylan Shepherd. Just 2 turns left to go here, Reese, to wrap up his night and make it a win that won't be, as you said, contested or stripped away after the race. And, well, that's looked like a second race of pretty much domination there. Well done to Dylan Shepherd for wrapping up his night with the W.
Good stuff there. Simon Mazzomo will come across the line for a very well-deserved second place, and Harry Dodds will get onto the podium in race 2. Congratulations to both of you. Meanwhile, Ben Peterson across the line in 4th. Still going on here between Craig Mason and Simon Fallon. Yeah, this time outside, and he's off. He tried it, but Mason protected the inside. He's just stayed middle of the road, didn't he? Very nicely. And it looks like Mason has done just enough to preserve 8th place here. Great stuff.
Indeed. Just able to, as you said, move the car to the middle of the road to cut off that inside line that we saw Simon Fallon put to such good effect in race 1. And just basically trip him up because Simon was committed there at 101% down the S's. So, unfortunately, when that line got shut off for him, he's then got to suddenly straighten the car up and lose braking performance in the result. But that will do it now. All our drivers classified here in race number 2, which means we can go to our race results at any time here. But Dylan Shepherd bring it to the end of the lap here. I'll keep an eye on off here. See, yeah, lights it up out of turn 12. But here we go, our race 2 results now for our drivers here tonight in the flat 6s race, and 12 seconds for Shepherd. Unfortunately, we would have loved to see a great scrap as we did see in race 1. Didn't quite eventuate there, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, that's what no safety car does, I think, with Mazzomo and Dodds on the podium. Again, that's going to be a welcome result for both of those drivers who both had issues tonight. Peterson getting into 4th spot after potentially being in the running for a podium, considering his qualifying performance. Dance will get a top 5 as well. He and Matthew Deere will probably have a few words exchanged after the race, with Peter Pavlovich, Craig Mason, Simon Fallon, and Ants Green rounding out the top 10. It's unfortunate there for Fallon that he got slammed with the slowdown that turned into the stop and go, but happens to the best of us. Sproul unfortunately retiring a few laps from the end, but I think he's done enough to still be classified for points. And Mark Noble unfortunately only made it 7 or so laps in before he had to retire from this one. So that's going to conclude the racing portion of the night. We do have driver interviews here at the end of Flat 6 action. First to join us is Simon Mazzomo as we review Dylan Shepherd's victory celebrations. It was a bit of a rough night for you, Simon, in some ways, but came good at the end.
Yes, good starts, just not good opening laps, as been found in both those races. But no, the pace was really, really good. We made I made a last second change to the setup, like probably in the last 10 minutes, just based off what I was seeing with what Fallon and Shep were doing, and yeah, it seemed to be the right call because just the pace at the start of the race probably wasn't as good, but as the race went on, it just got quicker and quicker. So yeah, no, just luckily things went the right way, but very happy with 4 and 2nd.
Yeah, what did you think about some of the incidents that were happening out on track there? I mean, obviously it's build week, so drivers are dealing with new physics on the grass and gravel. How did you find it?
The one thing I will say is I kind of understand that the grass is probably a bit too grippy at the moment, but I really hope iRacing don't actually go too far backwards with it, because like the times that I went off the track, the fact that you can actually pull the car back off, like not obviously spin out of control, but you can actually gather the car back up, get going again. The incidents that I saw, I saw them happen in front of me, but I couldn't really get a good view of what was going on. But like the few battles I had seemed fairly normal. But being able to sort of get on the grass and control the car a little bit better, I think, it probably threw people a little bit that the car will get back to you or get back to the track quicker than what they expected, so maybe that caught a few people out, but overall the changes that were made, I think they're a positive step forward.
Yeah, It's good to hear your thoughts, Simon. In any case, you're continuing your rise in terms of pace in these cars, and I think things are looking good for you for the rest of the season. So congratulations on your podium. Who do you have to thank for it?
Yeah, big thanks to all the guys at 9.5 for their support as always. Big thanks to our sponsors, Racecraft, Turn-In Race Apparel, RSW Graphics, Racing Ears, Prestige Photography. Big thanks for Cam, actually. We're sort of buddying up for this series, and yeah, he's been a big help in just sort of getting me on track. So yeah, big thanks to Cam, and yeah, thanks to you guys again for awesome broadcasts.
All right, thanks for joining us, Simon Mazzomo. And Dan, I'll hand it off to you to have a chat to Harry Dodds, who managed to get onto the podium in race 2.
Cheers for that there, Reese. And yeah, well done to you, Harry, there in race 2 in particular, but even just rewinding back real quick to race 1 as well for you. In the top half of the field all night long, certainly no mean feat, but you know, what was it like for you there as you had after that safety car in particular? Watching the guys ahead as they started to get pretty scrappy. Were you sort of aware that things were getting pretty crazy at the front up ahead of you in race 1 in particular?
Yeah, well, yeah, for me, like I knew I had a quick car. I knew I had a quick car from the start. I did a lot of testing in the practices that Henry King put up throughout the week, and yeah, it was like Sandown's like very rarely is one of the very few tracks that I do click with at most times. But yeah, I was really happy to know that a quick car, like even without the draft, I was still gaining time on the cars in front, which was, as you would know, Dan and Reese, like this track is pretty much draft central. It's a power circuit. And yeah, I felt pretty lucky to end up where I was at the end of race 1. But yeah, race 2 was tremendous from my perspective.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Working back and forth there with Simon Mazzomo, we just heard from him as well. And also heard you guys both at the end of the race there, pretty happy with how things turned out. Unfortunately, he was able to get through there and able to hold you off. But I guess, yeah, for that point, you're holding on to what was second place there for a good portion of the race. I guess, as you said, power track, obviously the draft being really important to getting moves done there. But I guess, was there anything else, any other tricks you could have potentially tried to hang on to that spot there as Mez had a proper go at taking it off you there?
Probably could have defended it a little bit better, but yeah, like obviously defending around here is not really my strongest suit. It's more going on the offense. It's more my strengths, but yeah, it's like just defensive works more is what I need to work on. But yeah, it was just shout out to Simon. Like he had a really quick car at the end, and yeah, we had a great Duke out as we always had in the Porsche Cup car. So yeah, that was awesome.
Well, it's only a 2-week turnaround for the Flat Sixes and for V8SCOPS on the whole before the next event at Bathurst, which will mean we'll see these cars, same format, 2 races out on track in 2 weeks' time on a Friday night. Obviously, we call it the home of Australian motorsport. It obviously quite the test of a track to be racing around. A sort of, I guess, how early you're going to start thinking about preparing for those races there at the mountain, or sort of like any previous experience to sort of take into that race of the sort, or going in a little bit fresh at this stage?
Well, normally I'd like to start off fresh and like just go back to the basics and all that. But thankfully, throughout the when Porsche Cup went to had official there throughout I think it was last season. I think we had it, or a couple of seasons back, and yeah, managed to get some good data, so I can look over that and the setups that I ran through then. And yeah, so probably going to be more focused on that at this stage. Of course, we've got the Bathurst 1000. I don't know if that's next week or something like that, but yeah, I reckon the 1000 might put me in good shape to get some good mileage, more mileage really. That's what I think what we all need.
Indeed, yep. Certainly doesn't hurt to get more laps on the board. Indeed, the iRacing Bathurst 1000 is next weekend, and then the V8SCOPS Bathurst 1000 just in 2 weeks' time. But before we let you go here, Harry, who do you want to thank for the P3 here, well, in particular P3 here, but the results overall tonight?
Yeah, so first off, it's obviously a big shout out to the team. Like, we've worked pretty hard in the background, obviously with new sponsors coming on board recently just in the recent past. So obviously the main shout outs to the team, Frog Leap Juice Racing, Juiced Energy, our main primary sponsor, Racecraft Simulations, simracing.com, and Hyperion Systems and the Pet Store Company.
Well, there we are. Harry Dodds, P3 in race 2 to round his night off, on top of P5 in race number 1. That looks like that'll do us for interviews here, Reese. And as you and Jay alluded to earlier tonight, that is only one night of 3 for our weekend of action here from Sandown to kick things off.
Yeah, tomorrow night we have the Grand Tour. That's the GT4 category, and the V8s, the 2014 Australian touring cars. That will be starting at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, we have on Sunday the Sandown 500 itself, starting from 3:50 p.m. Australian Eastern. It's going to be a bit of a long Sunday for us here at SimSpeed TV. Not as long as Bathurst, of course, but still a very big race here coming up on Sunday. So make sure that you're subscribed to SimSpeed TV and you've liked us on the socials. We are at SimSpeed TV on X, and we are also SimSpeed Esports Network on Facebook. Chuck us a subscribe on YouTube as well, and make sure to hit the bell so that you get alerted when we're going live next. Big thanks to the crew at Oceanic Sim Racing for putting all of this together. Thanks, of course, to Wilson's Industrial Sales and OKMS Media and Graphics for your support of the V8SCOPS supports. I'm Reese Gardner, Dan Yeaman alongside me, Jay Kennedy, working behind the scenes. We're SimSpeed TV, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.